Good morning to you. Thanks for joining us here on the Calgary Eyeopener, a special morning, Friday, December 5th. We're at Fratello Coffee Roasters launching our Make the Season Kind campaign. Calgary. Now, we are slinging mugs and beans, and we're drinking a ton of coffee, so I warn you about that as we get into the show. Angela Knight is around the corner in a different part of the roastery here at the front of the line. Good morning, Angela.
Good morning. It has been so busy here this morning. We're going to talk about the sale and everything that's happening here at Fratello. But first, I want to let you know we're in for a bit of a change weather-wise starting today. We're -1 right now, but we are going to see the temperatures start to drop down to around -10 degrees. Light snow off and on throughout the day. Traffic this morning, one incident in the northeast. That's a collision southbound on Métis Trail, right around 64th Avenue. The volume is fairly light, but that will start to cause problems throughout the morning if it isn't cleared quickly. If you see a traffic problem anytime, please give me a call. That number is 403-521-1010. Jocelyn Kozak is in the studio this morning, and she has a look at news headlines.
Good morning. A city report says blanket rezoning is not resulting in the city having to spend a lot of money to upgrade infrastructure, but one city councillor says the report feels like an attempt to influence the outcome of a vote this month on repealing blanket rezoning. The spread of respiratory virus has hit 10 K-12 schools already in Calgary. People are being urged to get their shots before the busy holiday season. And the town of Canmore says any change to the name of the provincial riding in that area should include the town's name. I'll be back at 6:30.
Thank you very much, Jocelyn. Now, a little later this half hour, we are going to register our first donation to the Calgary Food Bank as part of our Make the Season Kind campaign, and I'm looking forward to that. But first, Angela with the story from the front of the line. How's it going, Angela?
So well this morning. Now, we have had folks lined up here at Fratello. We're at 4021 9th Street in the southeast, right at the roastery. Folks lined up this morning. The first one in line was Colin. Good morning, Colin.
Good morning.
What time did you arrive?
4:55.
And what was it that motivated you to arrive so early?
My brother-in-law asked me to be here for 5 a.m. to buy him 2 mugs.
And why was it that your brother-in-law could not complete this mission himself?
He had to fly to Vancouver.
That's an acceptable excuse. So you have been here. You are well caffeinated this morning.
Yes, I had an espresso shot when I first came in.
Well caffeinated, you've been through the line. You were the first person to purchase the mugs. Have you had a chance to take a look at them?
No, I saw the one that's on the counter, but I bought 2 for my brother-in-law, and I decided to get myself one also.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for coming and being here so early and supporting the Calgary Food Bank. And I know you're moving into a new house in how many days?
8 days.
8 days. So now you've got a mug and some beans. That's a pretty good housewarming gift to yourself.
First thing I've bought for my new house.
Excellent. Well, enjoy and happy holidays. Thank you for being here.
Happy holidays, too.
Thanks, Colin. That's Colin, our first person in line this morning. So here's the deal. It is as it always is. It is a bag of Fratello beans and a special edition CBC holiday mug. And the two together sell for $20. All the money goes to the Calgary Food Bank. And you know, this is the 14th year that we have been doing this sale with Fratello Coffee Roasters, and Russ Prefontaine is the president and co-owner of the business. Good morning.
Good morning, Angela. So good to be here again.
Russ, we, as always, cannot thank you enough for your support of the Calgary Food Bank and of this campaign. We'll talk a little bit more about 14 years and the involvement and why. But first of all, tell me about this coffee. What are the tasting notes?
This coffee is a direct trade coffee we sourced from Colombia. It's Columbia Boulevard. It's from the Antioquia region of Colombia. And it is, as always, smooth, creamy, sweet, a little bit of citrus note in there. It's a good morning coffee. I also actually brewed as espresso now and then, and it's quite nice. It's going to be a little bit lighter as an espresso, but it's really good in like a short cappuccino.
All right. Well, and I know, we're doing the bag of beans this morning, but I happened to try. You've got a capsule that you're doing now. Tell us about this. So good, Russ. So good.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we just launched a line of Nespresso capsules with our top-selling coffees, Godfather Classic, Godfather Dark, Decaf, and then our Guatemala Monte Cristo, which is always a crowd favorite. But those launched approximately a month ago. Right now they're available in all Calgary co-ops, but people who are trying them just love them, like you. Right? I'm trying every morning as well. It's so easy. How would you not love it?
Well, and in my constant quest to reduce my caffeine intake, which, as you know, I love my coffee. But yeah, it's nice because you can only make one or two, and then it's good. You're on your way. But for the folks who are here today, Russ, 14 years. Why is this something that Fratello continues to do?
How can we not be proud of contributing to the Calgary Food Bank, right? It is such a good cause, and it's organized so well through the CBC and yourself that it's easy for us to participate with you. So it's such a good feeling for us when we see this crowd turn out, right? Buying the coffee for $20, the mug, and knowing it all goes to the Calgary Food Bank. It just warms our soul. So it's something we're very proud of. The whole team is, right? We have people coming in early, serving coffee, doing all the packaging and the roasting of the coffee. They all know the good work it's doing, so they're excited to do it as well. It isn't just me, it's everyone here at Fratello is excited.
It really does after all this time. This is the 40th anniversary of the campaign, 14 with Fratello, but it feels like family. Darcy and Joel are here this morning. They're the guys behind the coffee bar, and they are making coffees for folks as they come in. Now, as always, we're here until the coffee sells out. This is your first chance to purchase the coffee. There will be some others, but you'll want to make it here to Fratello before we sell out this morning. The address is 4021 9th Street in the Southeast. Russ, thank you so much for being here. I know early isn't always your favorite thing.
Early is not good for anyone, but once you're here, you come alive, right? I haven't seen one person not smiling, so I think we're all excited to be here.
It's so true. The smiles are plentiful this morning. Thanks, Russ. Now, we will have more. I know Lauren is going to speak with someone in just a moment, but I wanted to let you know what's happening in traffic this morning. Roads are interesting. We saw a bit of a warm-up yesterday. It was pretty messy out there. So there's some crunchy bits, there's some slushy bits, and we are going to see the temperature drop through the day. So -1 at the airport this morning. We'll start to see some light snow, and then the temperature dips to -10 through the afternoon. So far, just that one incident in the Northeast, and that is on southbound Métis Trail at 64th Avenue. There are minor delays there. But if you happen to spot a problem, safe to reach out to us. Our number is 403-521-1010. And Lauren, I know you've been waiting patiently. What's going on?
Well, that's right. Thanks very much, Angela. I have been waiting patiently, and I'm here. We're celebrating, as you heard there, the 40th anniversary of this campaign. And it would not be possible without the generosity of the people and businesses and community here in Calgary. So here with us to kick off the first donation for our Make the Season Kind campaign is Marion Murray. She's the Senior Vice President at Bay West Homes. Good morning, Marion.
Good morning.
I was going to ask you if you've had a coffee, but while we were sitting here waiting, somebody handed you a coffee.
I'm on to my second one.
You're
I'm in good shape.
appropriately caffeinated.
I am. Thank you.
I love to hear it. Okay. Well, this is the 40th anniversary also for your business, Bay West Homes. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
I was thinking of longevity as a sign of success. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. How'd you get here? 40 years.
40 years. Started as a family business and continues as a family business through some ownership changes, but we've been building homes in Calgary's best communities since 1985.
Okay, 85 was 40 years ago. There's a bit of math in there for a guy that was born before 1985. Now, this generosity, this giving to the food bank, why is that important to Bay West Homes and to you?
Well, we believe giving back to the Calgary community is very important, supporting the residents and citizens of the communities we serve. And the Calgary Food Bank is an institution in our city, and they do incredible work. And we thought it was really important. Our city has grown. The cost of food is increasing. It's harder to make ends meet. And so it's a way that we can have a good impact in Calgary.
I got a note that this is our first donation that we're receiving on behalf of the food bank this morning, but this is not the first bit of work for the food bank that Bay West Homes has done this year?
No, we've been involved with the food bank in a number of different ways over the years. We've made donations, we've volunteered at the food bank. Our team likes to get involved more than just a financial donation, and we see ourselves getting more involved in the years ahead.
Roll up the sleeves.
Absolutely.
What's the vibe at the food bank when you're there as a team?
Oh, it's incredible. They're incredibly well organized. They have the ability to take in volunteers and organize us quickly. It's just great work, and it's a fun team building event for us as well.
Yeah. Okay, well, I've been tap dancing here, waiting to get to the main event. What's the donation that you've come with this morning?
Well, in honor of our 40-year anniversary, we've made a donation of $40,000. It's our largest donation that we've made to date, and we're very excited about it.
Okay, well, the 40, give it up, $40,000, my goodness. Yeah. I really, really appreciate that, and it's a great gesture and kind of symbolic thing to help us launch this campaign on behalf of the food bank. So thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
And congratulations to you and everybody that works there for this kind of collective generosity.
Thank you. We're all very proud of it.
Yeah, very good. All right. That's Marian Murray, Senior Vice President at Bay West Homes, a $40,000 donation to launch this campaign. Absolutely fantastic. We're here at Fratello Coffee Roasters. There's a long line. Every time I look up, it's a new group of people kind of shuffling past, waiting to get beans and mugs. Really appreciate everybody being here and appreciate you tuned in at home. Now, it is time for some music. We are spinning folks' favorite holiday music from the last 25 years. I'm making eye contact and making sure everybody knows the criteria. We got a note from listener Teresa who says, everything on the Band of Merrymakers album is great, but we particularly love Snow, Snow, Snow.
Snow, snow. Welcome to our Christmas party. Grab your coat, gonna have some fun. Time to get this season started. Raise your cup, cheers to everyone. Yeah, jingle bell, let's say. Yeah, we've been waiting so long for the holiday. Yeah, jingle bell, let's say. Yeah, we've been waiting so long. Gotta celebrate, 'cause we're wishing for a blizzard and a pint of cheer. We're laughing and we're clapping this time of year. Snow, we want snow. From New York to California, here we go. All snow, we want snow. For the London Bridge and Keys in Tokyo. Looking up for that frosty flaky stuff. Let it fall tonight. Snow, we want snow. We want snow. Weatherman says a storm is coming. Temperature's gonna hit 0. Kids are staring out the window, hoping Jack Frost nips their nose. Jingle bell, let's sleigh. Yeah, we've been waiting so long for the holiday. Yeah, jingle bell, let's sleigh. Yeah, we've been waiting so long. Gotta celebrate, 'cause we're wishing for a blizzard and a pint of cheer. We're laughing and we're clapping this time of year. Snow, we want snow. From New York to California, here we go. All snow, we want snow. For the London Bridge and Keys in Tokyo. Looking up for that frosty flaky stuff. Let it fall tonight. Snow, we want snow. We want snow. When we wake up, it's all marshmallow white. Ain't this a wonderful life? Snow, we want snow. From New York to California, here we go. All snow, we want snow. For the London Bridge and kids in Tokyo. Looking up for that frosty flaky stuff. Let it fall tonight. Snow,
A Snow, Snow, Snow by the Band of Merrymakers. Thanks to listener Teresa for that suggestion. If you have a suggestion, Christmas music you love from the last 25 years, you can email us, eyeopener@cbc.ca, or send a text, 825-982-9880. We are live here at Fratello Roasters, and you can catch it on our website, cbc.ca/Calgary. We're also on our CBC Alberta News YouTube page. Now, John Hancock joins us with a look at sports. Good morning, John.
Hi there. We had a ton of hockey last night, including the Flames, who handed Minnesota their first regulation loss since November the 6th. Dustin Wolf, 26 saves. Jonathan Huberdeau ended a 14-game scoring drought with a goal. 4-1 they beat the Wild. Matt Coronado, Connor Zary, and Rasmus Anderson also scored. Connor Zary scored and said he did it for his mom.
It's nice to score. It's always good to get on the scoreboard and try and do things to help a team. My mom came for the first time in a little bit here, so I kind of give it to her that I scored for her, so that was nice. I keep bugging her. It's, Dad always comes, why you never show up? And I asked her why she never shows up, but then she shows up and scores, so it's always good.
Utah in town tomorrow night to play the Flames. Edmonton all over Seattle, 9-4. Connor McDavid, 3 goals, 13th career hat trick, and he ties Mark Messier for 4th in Oilers history. Connor McDavid also had an assist. Leon Draisaitl had a goal and 3 assists, and Matt Savoie scored twice. Toronto beat Carolina 5-1. Bobby McMahon with 2. Ottawa lost 4-2 to the Rangers. Pittsburgh got 2 goals from Evgeny Malkin and won their game over Tampa. Bruins beat St. Louis. Morgan Geekie with a goal and 2 assists. Islanders beat league-leading Colorado, ending the Avalanche's 17-game point streak. Columbus over Detroit in a shootout. Chicago beat L.A., and Florida lost to Nashville in overtime. In the PWHL, Toronto Scepters beat Ottawa Charge 3-1. Natalie Spooner scored the go-ahead goal in the second period. And in the Western Hockey League tonight, the Calgary Hitmen will host Prince Albert. Medicine Hat at Moose Jaw, Red Deer at Edmonton. The Canadian Senior Curling continues and will continue all this weekend in Ottawa. And both Ontario teams in men's and women's up near the top in the championship round. And we'll be keeping an eye on that this weekend. And also in the NBA, the LA Lakers beat the Raptors on Rui Hachimura's three-pointer on a pass from LeBron James at the buzzer. 123-120 the final. LeBron just loves playing in Toronto. He likes the fans here.
They're amazing. I love it. I don't know how many games I have left here in this building, but these fans are unbelievable. This city is unbelievable. Always welcome me with open arms. Either if I was coming here to play a basketball game or just coming here to visit, I've always loved and appreciate the fans' support here, man. They're one of a kind for sure.
Toronto will play again tonight at home against Charlotte. It was Detroit Lions over Dallas 44-20 in the NFL. And in CFL news, John Huffnagel's leaving the Calgary Stamps for the Toronto Argos. He's leaving after 17 years where he served as head coach, GM, president, and advisor, 3 Grey Cups, 2 Coach of the Year honors. Huffnagel will be the special advisor to the head coach and GM in Toronto. And now back to our coffee gang here.
All right, thank you very much, John. We're about a minute out from news time, but Angela joins us with an update. How's it going, Angela?
Going so well this morning. The line is moving, but it is super busy for the coffee sale. Now in traffic, that one incident in the Northeast, and that is southbound on Métis Trail at 64th Avenue. So a 2-vehicle collision there. Minor delays. It's Friday morning, so the volume is lighter, but please be careful if you're headed through that area. Today, we're going to see the conditions change once again. Colder temperatures on the way. We'll see some snow off and on through the day, and the temperature drops down to -10 through the afternoon. It's -4 at 6:30.
This is CBC News. Good morning. I'm Jocelyn Kozak. The City of Calgary says blanket rezoning is having minimal impact on infrastructure, but one councillor thinks administration is trying to sway opinion ahead of an upcoming vote. The CBC's Brendan Coulter reports.
An update on the impacts of blanket rezoning went to City Hall this week. Building permits for townhouses and row houses are up from last year, and less than 1% of the homes reviewed needed utility upgrades. Maggie Choi is with the city.
At a street or a block level, the impact of change can look and feel significant. However, from an infrastructure perspective, the impact has been minimal.
Council will debate blanket rezoning December 15. Ward 10 Councillor Andre Chabot says the policy would strain infrastructure down the road and thinks City Admin wants to keep blanket rezoning in place.
There's a lot of implications that we shouldn't do this because of this. So yeah, it does seem like admin is trying to influence council's decision.
Administration says its report is objective and not meant to weigh in. Whatever council decides, Brian Hahn with Build Calgary says it needs to act quickly.
Investment thrives on certainty and struggles with uncertainty.
If council votes to repeal, the zoning bylaw would go to public hearing in March. Brendan Coulter, CBC News, Calgary City Hall.
The Women's Centre of Calgary has partnered with other agencies to try and understand exactly how many women in gender-diverse populations are homeless. Spokesperson Lana Bentley says the annual point-in-time counts focus on shelters and rough sleeping populations and don't fully represent the problem. She says, for example, some women end up staying with friends or family but are still considered homeless.
We want to understand those pathways into homelessness so that we can prevent people from becoming displaced rather than just investing in after that has occurred. I think intervening at both time points is appropriate, but we also want to wrap our arms around the true scope of the problem to lead to better planning and better resourcing and better prevention as well.
Bentley says they spoke with about 180 people through a hidden homeless survey and focus groups. The results of the study are expected to be released next month. Their research is being funded by the Calgary Foundation. Respiratory viruses are spreading in and around Calgary schools. An infectious diseases specialist is reminding Albertans to get vaccinated now before the holiday season. The CBC's Karina Zapata reports.
Alberta's latest data shows the number of respiratory virus outbreaks is climbing. There are currently 10 outbreaks at Calgary schools. Calgary's Catholic School Board says 6 of its schools have an absence rate above 10%. The CBE did not share its absence figures with CBC. Craig Jenny is an infectious diseases specialist at the University of Calgary.
We do know that flu is out there and circulating, but it's not the only one. We also know that COVID is out there. We know RSV is out there.
Jenny says the timing of this matters.
It's not a good thing to have increasing virus numbers just as we're heading into a season with large family and community gatherings indoors.
He says there's still time for people to get their COVID and flu shots to protect themselves and their loved ones by the time the holidays roll around. According to a statement from Primary and Preventative Health Services, Alberta's influenza season started a few weeks early, but COVID hospital admissions so far are lower than in previous years. Karina Zapata, CBC News, Calgary.
The Alberta government tabled a bill yesterday restricting the names of political parties. It disallows the use of certain words that are already associated with a party, like Conservative or Democratic, and it comes as 2 former government MLAs try to relaunch the defunct Progressive Conservative Party. Peter Guthrie is one of them.
We may have to go back to the drawing board and look for an alternative, but I just want Albertans to know they can take away the name, they can ban the name, they can ban combinations of it, acronyms, what have you. They may not allow us to be PC by name, but we will be in our heart.
Justice Minister Mickey Amory says the changes will help prevent confusion among the electorate and protect parties that have worked hard to build a brand in Alberta. The town of Canmore is urging the province to put its name on the electoral map. A provincial commission is looking at changing the boundaries for some Alberta ridings. That includes potentially creating a constituency called Banff Jasper. But a third of the population in that constituency would live in Canmore. And during Thursday's council meeting, Councillor Tanya Faubert said Canmore should be included in the riding name.
We are the biggest business centre. The Electoral Commission should be following its own naming protocols, and I think pointing that out is going to be really important.
Alberta's Electoral Boundaries Commission is accepting written submissions now and will hold hearings in January to discuss potential changes to the electoral map. A draw is being held today in Washington to determine the matchups for the opening round of this summer's FIFA World Cup of Soccer. Mexico, the U.S., Canada are all hosting the 2018 tournament. World Report will have more on that. 7 o'clock, Lauren.
All right. Thank you very much, Jocelyn. That was Jocelyn Kozak in our Calgary studio. We are live from here at Fratello Coffee Roasters, a very special Friday morning on the Eyeopener. We are launching our Make the Season Kind campaign. There is a lineup of people very excited to get their hands on mugs and on coffee beans and to support the Calgary Food Bank. We appreciate you being here. Good morning, folks. All right, that's my best elementary school teacher kind of routine. Anyway, we got a great half-hour radio coming up for you here. We're going to hear from a food bank user a little later. Angela's chatting with people in the lineup and keeping track of traffic and weather. And I'm going to tell you shortly about a town with, not quite 100 people, but 4 choirs. Anyway, that's coming up. Angela Knight now over in the lineup talking to people. Good morning, Ange.
Good morning. Oh, it's just so lovely to see everyone. So many people have come to this event year after year after year, and it's just a wonderful way to catch up with everyone and see them. And for a change, it's not freezing outside. Last year, I don't know, it was like minus bajillion. This year, we're looking at, it's a little cooler morning. We're right around -1 degree at the airport. We're going to see light snow through the day, and the temperature drops to -10 this afternoon. For Banff, you're looking at a high of -2 with some snow. Right now, it's -3 in Banff. Red Deer, you can expect 2 centimeters of snow today. Your temperature drops to -12. It's currently -8. Lethbridge, a mix of sun and cloud, a high of -3. You're at -6 this morning. And Medicine Hat, you're our warm spot. You're at 0 right now with a little bit of snow. You'll see those flurries and the temperature falling to -7 throughout the afternoon. Now, because of the change in the weather conditions, we are seeing that the road conditions change as well. Please be careful on those sidewalks and pathways. A little bit slick for sure. And we are seeing some slick conditions on roads, but those major routes, the major thoroughfares, are in good winter driving condition. Only one collision this morning in the northeast, southbound on Métis Trail, right around 64th Avenue. Now, if you spot a problem, please let me know. The number is 403-521-1010.
Thank you very much, Angela. Now, Sweet Harmonies will fill a church in the community of Rosebud this Sunday. That's where 4 local choirs are singing in an event called Carols, Old and New. It's organized by Rosebud Theatre School of the Arts, and that is this week's Talk of the Town. Paul Muir is executive director of the school, and Mackie Van Dyke is its registrar and a singer in 2 of those 4 choirs. Good morning to you both.
Hello. Morning, Lauren. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, thank you very much for doing this. Now, Paul, I'll start with you. Just tell us a bit about what you have planned on Sunday.
Oh, well, you know what, Lauren? We've been doing this for decades and decades, and Sunday is our annual Christmas concert. And as you said, Carols Old and New, happening at Rosebud Church at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Admission is free or by donation. And we, like every single Christmas, we pack out the church. It is just an incredible community event.
How many people do you expect?
I expect we'll have 200 people.
Oh, wow, that's great. Mackie, I wanted to talk to you too. Who are in these choirs and who's singing?
Yeah. Well, it's really the whole community as well as the broader community. We really are a singing town. Everybody. You can't be in Rosebud and not sing. So one of the choirs is called Chorale. It's our student choir. It's got about 60 just great singers of students at Rosebud School of the Arts. And then there's another choir called Masterworks. And it sings the works by the masters like Bach and Beethoven, Haydn, Mendelssohn. And this year they'll be singing a piece by Ray Vaughan Williams, the British 20th century British composer. And that's made up of everybody around, in a sense, the neighborhood. And it's got about 30 singers in it. And then the third choir is an auditioned women's choir, and it really is the show choir. 16 voices, just a fantastic, beautiful harmonies. And then the last choir is our kids choir. It's called the Rosebud Younger Company. It's got kids in there from like age 5 to age 11. And they'll be doing some skits and some really lovely songs as well.
Beautiful. Now, Paul, I mean, you mentioned that you've been at this, or, the community has been at this for decades and decades. And then we're hearing about, a town of less than 100 people that somehow managed to stage these 4 choirs that Mackie's talking about. What is it about choir culture in Rosebud? How did this get its start?
Yeah. I have to say that the legacy of singing that Mackie is talking about, the singing town, honestly, a huge part of it is credited to our former music director, Bill Ham, who actually just retired earlier this year after 35 years of being music director here in Rosebud. He came to Rosebud at a time when things were just forming, things were coming together. We were just sort of figuring out what this thing could be. And at that time, Laverne Erickson, the founder and executive director at the time, he basically gave Bill carte blanche. And Bill was like, okay, I'm gonna do my thing. He's got a master's in choral directing, choir directing, and he just went for it. So for 35 years, this kind of thing has been going on and has built and built and built and built over the decades.
So, I mean, it's often the story, right? Somebody who has a passion for something stirs the pot and creates this opportunity, and now it's taken hold, as you point out. But he's retiring, well-earned retirement, we'll say. Mackie, what does the future then look like for choir and singing in the community?
Yeah, well, you can't have Rosebud without music, so it's definitely continuing. And right now we have a fantastic choir conductor. His name is Stephen Morton. He actually drives out from Calgary to give leadership to our choirs on every Wednesday and Thursday. And we'll see how we'll keep going in the future. But we've just been so happy with Stephen's leadership for this time, and we're just keep going. Like before, when Bill retired, I had all kinds of calls from singers going, but the choir is continuing, right? I mean, we can't imagine our life without choir music. And so, we definitely kept going, and Stephen has done a great job.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's great news. And Mackie, hearing, that you're in 2 of these 4 choirs and your description and excitement around the music and what's happening on Sunday, what do you love about this?
Yeah, I just love singing with other people and creating, a work of beauty. And I think singing it's both physical, it's artistic, of course it's social. There's nothing like joining, my own voice with an ensemble of other singers. And I have to tell you, some of these carols are so beautiful, especially the new ones, right? That 21st century kind of works. They've got this gorgeous dissonance that sends chills down your spine, and you're right in the middle of the music, and it really does something to you. I can be really tired and go to a choir rehearsal after 3 hours. I'm utterly invigorated and renewed. And I think audiences
that's fantastic.
feel that.
All right. Sorry, I cut you off. Go ahead and finish.
No, that's all right. I think when audiences go and listen to a choir, it does something physically and artistically to them as well. You can't walk away from music and really feel those vibrations and not feel it just totally, invigorated inside your soul.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, well, thank you both for. Paul, I hear you. Thank you both for speaking with us very much. Really appreciate your time. Have a great day on Sunday.
Thanks very much.
Good care.
All right, that was Paul Muir, Executive Director of the Rosebud Theatre School of the Arts, and Mackie Van Dyke, the school's registrar and a singer in 2 of the choirs that will be at the Rosebud Church on Sunday. Angela Knight, now we're 16 minutes to 7, is over in the coffee lineup chatting with people and keeping track of traffic and weather. Hi, Ange.
Hi, and keeping track of how many bags we have left. It is with a heavy heart that I say there are only 50 bags left for sale this morning. So if you are not here in line already, we will be sold out in the next 10 to 15 minutes. So thank you so much to everybody who came early this morning. We had extra bags this year because it's the 40th anniversary of the campaign, the CBC Calgary Food Bank campaign, and Make the Season Kind. And you all are making the season kind by being here with us and helping raise funds funds for the Calgary Food Bank. Now, I was looking around. I hate having to give the totals because I'm always the bearer of bad news. But two people who are very happy because they did get their coffee this morning are David and Purdy. And I looked over and y'all were chatting like crazy. And then it turns out you actually only see each other here. Is that correct, Purdy?
Well, we do get our hair. I get my hair cut as well. But we always run into each other here at the Kickoff. So it's wonderful.
How many years do you think you've been coming?
Oh, well, not just here. I couldn't tell you. Yeah, it goes back. Long-time Calgarian, so.
That is awesome. Thank you so much for supporting the campaign. And David, I know you've come to coffee sales forever.
Forever and ever and ever. And this morning, as I was walking in the dark, I thought, I wonder if I'll run into Purdy. And sure enough, the first person I see, my friend Purdy McKenzie, which was so great to see. And Angela, I'd like to make a shameless plug, if I may.
Could I possibly stop you, David?
Every year at my hair salon, Swish Salon, we do a sock drive for the mustard seed. So we call it Swishmas socks. Last year, we got 6 full green garbage bags of socks that I take down between the 24th and the 30th to drop off at the mustard seed. This year, I'd like to make it 7. So if you're in the Marda Loop area, my address is 1930 34th Avenue Southwest, and we will take all the socks that people want to give us.
All right. How many years have you been doing your sock campaign?
7 years, 8 years. Socks is something, if you are unhoused, you need. It's not like you have time to do laundry. And if your feet are cold, as we all know, you're miserable.
Healthy feet, healthy life, right? So yes, absolutely. And you know, this whole season we're saying, make the season kind. And there are so many people in our audience who do so many things to make this season kind. And we celebrate that. Thank you both. And thank you for being here this morning. We are still -1 at the airport, but temperatures vary across the city. It does look like we are going to see the temperature start to drop. We see some snow and the temperature drops down to -10 this afternoon. Looking a bit cooler tomorrow as well. Traffic seems to be moving well. The only incident that we were aware of is that collision southbound on Métis Trail, right around 64th Avenue. So that is in the process of being cleared. If you spot a problem, please let us know. 403-521-1010.
Thank you very much, Angela. Now, hearing from David on the radio there reminds me that we are also on TV, and my hair is on there. David is largely responsible for my hairdo. Now, if you want to see the show go to air, we're having lots of fun at Fratello Roastery. You can find us on the web at cbc.ca/Calgary. We're streaming live on our website. You can also head to our CBC Alberta YouTube channel and check us out there. Now, of course, we're in the midst of our annual fundraiser in support of the Calgary Food Bank. We've just launched it this morning with much aplomb. It's all part of our Make the Season Kind campaign. Now, demand for the food bank, we know, continues to grow. Our story producer for the Make the Season Kind campaign is Huana Cyprian, and she recently sat down with a retired client using the emergency hamper program.
I'm a senior. I have a limited budget. I have a set budget, but I wasn't able to sustain my budget. I was going over my budget. I ran out of money by, I would say, the 10th or the 11th of the month. I paid my bills. I did one shop for essentials, and then I had no money. So then it meant if I ran out of milk and eggs and meat or anything, I couldn't replace. I would just do without. Like if you don't have cream, you don't have milk, you don't have butter, you do without. You make do with whatever you have. That's all. That's all you do. And that is food insecurity.
As you said, too, bills are first and then food comes last.
Yes. As a matter of fact, on my budget sheet, that's how I have my set expenses and my variable expenses. My set expenses are my monthly bills, and my variable is definitely groceries. So there's times I have, these days, my grocery bill is $200. My grocery budget is like $200 a month. Well, that's not sufficient, right? I get a little more anxious when I don't have food because yeah. The first time when I accessed the food bank in light of inflation and needing some help with my monthly groceries, I just remember the process, right? Just calling and getting. But I don't remember the first hamper. I don't remember exactly because as I moved into the program, I was still experiencing food insecurity because I wasn't using it. I don't think really regular. And it wasn't until a few months later when I realized that I am experiencing food insecurity. I can't buy groceries because I guess I was trying to just it was like an emergency access, but it wasn't consistent. I wasn't doing it consistently. And it wasn't until I realized how dire my situation had become with running out of money by the 11th of the month that I hooked in. And there's a little shame in not being able to provide for yourself, without a doubt. There's some not feeling quite entitled because I know a lot of people need food right now. And I was probably rather secretive about it and shameful, like even to discuss with my kids. At some point, there was a shift, though.
What was that shift like for you?
Oh, it's like taking a big breath and exhaling. Like the shoulders go down, the anxiety dissipates. So it's thought a few times that maybe I need to stop again. But my my adult children say, no, Mom, we think you need to keep with the program until somebody figures this phenomena out. And I think the critical part of that is knowing that this isn't all about me and failing. It's about what's going on and with our food industry, right? If you don't have, you call the food bank or you go online and you book a hamper. That's really the best thing to do, and that's what I did. If I can't see food in my future, if I can't see my basic needs met, it means it's time to call on Calgary Food Bank.
Now, that's a food bank user here in Calgary. Our Make the Season Kind campaign in support of the Calgary Food Bank is underway. We've launched it this morning. If you'd like to make a donation, you can head to cbc.ca/kind/YYC, where you will find the Donate Now button. We are 7 minutes to 7 here on a special Friday morning on the Eyeopener. Now, back in our CBC Calgary studio, we're joined by Jocelyn Kozak with a look at this morning's headlines. Good morning, Jocelyn.
Good morning. A report from city administration says construction going up due to blanket rezoning is not resulting in a lot of upgrades to utilities. One councillor, however, is questioning whether administration is trying to influence an upcoming vote on repealing the zoning bylaw. The spread of respiratory virus has hit 10 elementary schools in Calgary. 6 Catholic schools are reporting an absence rate above 10%. And the Alberta government has tabled a bill to restrict the names of new political parties. It's disallowing the use of certain words that are already associated with a party, including the word conservative. I'll be back after World Report.
Thank you very much, Jocelyn. And we go now for this morning's business headlines to Katie Toth. Good morning, Katie.
Good morning to you.
What have you got for us?
Job numbers are up and job hunting is down. Employment increased by 54,000 in November. The employment rate rose 0.1 of a percentage point to 60.9%, and the unemployment rate fell almost 0.5 percentage point to 6.5%. When it comes to interest rates, this news means they'll probably stay the same. That's what economists were expecting unless we saw a huge dip here, and we didn't. which is good news. We are also still dealing with the backlog of the data drought from the U.S. government shutdown. So StatCan can't give us international trade data until at least the 11th. So this is very much the last piece of the data puzzle the Bank of Canada gets before its decision on December 10th. The Bank of Canada said last time they just wanted to wait and see how their recent cut plays out. I just got bangs. I know you never want to overtrim. I'll keep going and tell you about some other news. Netflix has announced that it's buying Warner Brothers. The little fish becomes the big fish here. The deal is worth more than 100 billion Canadian dollars, and it means Netflix will buy up HBO Max as well as the huge library of Warner Brothers films and TV shows. Its whole studio system really leaves some questions because Warner Brothers films tend to run with more of a traditional model, theatrical release, then streaming. The studios also sell content to competitors of HBO Max. Netflix really keeps its content in-house. So will Netflix keep that going or tighten its distribution channels? This deal is also expected to face some antitrust scrutiny. I mean, you're bringing together two of the biggest streamers in the world. Lawmakers in the U.S. are worried it might lead to too much power for one huge entertainment company. And finally, FIFA's Men's World Cup draw happens today in Washington, where it is 1 degree and snowy. But climate experts are already thinking about how heat could have huge financial impacts on this competition. One report found 10 of the 16 host cities across North America are at very high risk of experiencing extreme heat stress conditions. Now, the biggest cost of a weather event would be if venues just had to cancel matches entirely and pay back tickets. But a smaller version of that problem could be just delays. There was a FIFA Club World Cup game last summer in Orlando, and it was delayed by almost 2 hours because of a storm. So if those delays impact contracts with broadcasters or vendors, that could lead to liability. We know organizers at one of the host venues, Kansas City, are already working on this heat issue, planning cooling stations and push notifications for fans' phones about how to handle whatever weather shows up. But we're not immune to this in Canada. Even though we think of ourselves as a cold place, we saw how wildfires impacted air quality in Vancouver just this summer. It's one of the host cities.
All right. Thank you very much, Katie Toth. We'll talk to you in an hour.
Thank you.
That's Katie Toth with this morning's business news. I have your market update. In Europe, markets are up across the board. Germany, the UK, France, all up. Asia, markets are mixed. Japan is down. Shanghai and Hong Kong both up. Oil at the moment down to $59.59 US a barrel. Gold is up to $4,264 US an ounce. And the Canadian dollar is at 71.98 cents US. Angela Knight joins us from the front of the line, which is probably pretty close to the end of the line. We may be out of coffee. How's it going, Angela?
Oh, Lauren, we are officially out of coffee, and I want to say good morning to all of the folks who are watching us on our CBC Alberta YouTube channel this morning. Good morning. I understand there's quite a few folks who are checking us out. Now, we are officially sold out of the coffee, but here's a cool thing that happened. First thing this morning, Curtis came in. Curtis said to me, every year I get here too late and I miss out on the coffee. So this year, Angela, I bought 2 bags, one for me and a second one that is for the person who is last in line who misses out on the coffee. So Donna, this is from Curtis. He's paying it forward. I mean, we talk about make the season kind. That melts the heart, doesn't it?
Oh, that's fantastic. And to think my husband didn't want to even leave home until 7. That would have been far too late. But I really appreciate that, Curtis. Thank you.
Perfect, Donna. Thank you so much for coming by this morning. Happy holidays. We are looking at a colder day for sure. We're going to see flurries and the temperature drops down to minus 10 degrees. Still minus 1 at the airport this morning. And Lauren, it looks like that collision in the northeast is being cleared. It was southbound on Métis Trail at 64th Avenue. I'll have an update in 10 minutes.
All right. Thank you very much, Angela. And thank you, everyone tuned in on our YouTube channel, on our website, and on the radio. World Report is up next. After that, we're going to talk to a couple of new city councilors about the marathon budget process this year. They have delivered a budget, have a couple of reflections on that, plus lots more of our Make the Season Kind campaign launch right here on CBC Radio 1. I'm Lauren McGinnis. Hang around.
This is World Report. Good morning, I'm John Northcott. Today in Washington, there will be a draw for the opening round of this summer's FIFA World Cup. Soccer fans will be watching closely to see how the 48 teams will be matched up, and political watchers will also be paying careful attention to see what happens on the sidelines between Prime Minister Mark Carney and U.S. President Donald Trump. They are expected to meet briefly today, so let's bring in Janice McGregor from our Parliamentary Bureau. Janice, what kind of expectations are being set by the Prime Minister's office ahead of what is admittedly a short meeting?
John, this event is going to be stacked with celebrities. It's a big FIFA commercial, really, for a global audience. Mark Carney can't walk into a venue that's going to be decked out with giant gold soccer balls and think Donald Trump's going to somehow lean in on softwood lumber. The Prime Minister's office yesterday was out lowering expectations, saying this encounter is going to be brief. Carney isn't going to the White House, but it will be the second time the two leaders have lined up for a friendly in the aftermath of the president's blow-up over those Ronald Reagan ads that the Ontario government ran during the World Series. Trump still hasn't followed through on his threat to slap more tariffs on Canada in retaliation. Negotiators still aren't back at the table. But across town today, it's going to be the third day of hearings as a parade of business stakeholders weigh in on the future of the three-way North American trade relationship, with the vast majority of them so far telling Trump's trade representative this deal could be improved, but it needs to continue. Canada's former chief negotiator, Steve Verhoeven, was among them yesterday, and this was his advice.
We need to be patient. Now is not a time when we're going to get a very good deal out of the U.S., but I think conditions will improve over time.
Anxieties may be running high at home, but if you read the room in Washington today, pretty clear the focus is going to be on TV ratings, not tariff rate quotas.
So, a three-way trade agreement and a three-way World Cup hosting. Mark Carney supposed to meet with the Mexican president today. What are you watching for there?
The minister in charge of Canada's negotiations, Dominic LeBon, he's been in Mexico this week, laying track towards a big trade mission set for February, and meeting with his counterpart at a time when they're both strategizing for the scheduled review of their shared trade deal next July 1st, which, funnily enough, just happens to fall smack in the middle of a certain high-profile footy tournament.
Janice McGregor in Ottawa. Thanks, Janice.
You're welcome.
And today's World Cup festivities are being held at the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C. Included on the agenda will be the awarding of FIFA's first ever Global Peace Prize. And the recipient is expected to be Donald Trump. Some breaking economic news. For the third month in a row, Canada added jobs. Statistics Canada has just released its November employment report, showing a gain of 54,000 jobs, and that's drawing the unemployment rate down to 6.5% from 6.9% in October. CBC's senior business correspondent Peter Armstrong has more.
This is much higher than pretty much anybody was expecting. Canadian employers have now added 180,000 jobs just since September. That's 3 straight months of major gains, and it drags the unemployment rate down considerably. It's hard to look at these numbers and not see at least something of an economic rebound. Remember, September's GDP numbers saw the economy return to growth in the third quarter after a major contraction in the spring, but and it's an important but, these are largely part-time jobs. They are private sector part-time jobs, but still you'd like to see more full-time jobs added. But especially in the current economic context of a trade war, of diminished business investment under this cloud of uncertainty, a report like this just highlights that resiliency that we've seen throughout this crisis as the economy just keeps finding new ways to adjust. Peter Armstrong, CBC News, Toronto.
Netflix is acquiring Warner Brothers Discovery. The $72 billion cash and stock deal announced today brings massive film and TV assets, including HBO Max and DC Studios, under one roof. The move marks a major strategic shift for Netflix, which had previously expressed no interest in owning legacy media networks. Netflix has promised to continue theatrical releases for Warner Films. The massive transaction is expected to close in late 2026. The Pentagon says U.S. forces have carried out another deadly strike on alleged drug smugglers in the Pacific Ocean. For months, the Navy has carried out close to 24 attacks in international waters, both in the Pacific and the Caribbean. Dozens of people have been killed. The Trump administration says it's part of the campaign to keep illegal drugs out of the U.S. This latest attack comes in the midst of congressional concern about the legality of the strikes. Willie Lowry is in our Washington bureau. Willie, what can you tell us about this latest strike?
So it happened in the Eastern Pacific. Video released by U.S. Southern Command shows a boat speeding through open waters and then suddenly disappearing beneath an inferno. The U.S. military says Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth ordered the strike and that it killed 4 alleged drug smugglers. It is the 22nd time that the U.S. has carried out such attacks since September. The vast majority of the strikes have occurred in the Caribbean. At least 87 people have been killed so far.
So, Willie, the controversy surrounding this ongoing deadly unilateral U.S. action is growing, isn't it?
Absolutely. The strike occurred on the same day that the commander who oversaw the very first strike on September 2nd appeared before lawmakers on Capitol Hill. There's growing bipartisan concern over the legality of these strikes. The House and Senate Armed Services Committee looked at video of the first, which showed 2 strikes, the first blowing up a boat and then a follow-up hit killing 2 people who had survived the initial explosion. Democratic Representative Adam Smith says the video did little to alleviate his concerns.
The idea that these 2 were going to be able to return to the fight, even if you accept all of the questionable legal premises around this mission, around these strikes, it's still very hard to imagine how these 2 were returning to any sort of fight in that condition.
The White House has defended the strikes and says it's protecting Americans by preventing drugs from entering the country by sea.
Willie Lowry in our Washington bureau. Thanks, Willie.
My pleasure.
Trade, defense, and strategic ties are all being discussed during Russian President Vladimir Putin's state visit to India. But underlying much of the conversation is the Kremlin's war on Ukraine. Salima Shivji has more from Mumbai.
A classical Indian dance on the tarmac as Vladimir Putin landed in New Delhi Thursday evening, greeted also with a warm embrace from India's Narendra Modi, there personally to welcome Russia's president, a rare gesture from the prime minister meant to underline the close ties between the 2 leaders. Amidst more ceremony, there was talk of the war in Ukraine, with Modi once again saying India is on the side of peace, and the leaders signed an economic cooperation agreement to expand trade until 2030.
Economic cooperation program पर
The visit is also steeped in symbolism. For Putin, it's about showing he's not so politically isolated. But this is a diplomatic tightrope for India, trying to balance a long-standing historical alliance with Russia, its biggest defense supplier that dates to the Soviet era, and the South Asian country's ties to a once friendly but increasingly volatile Trump administration. Washington imposed punishing tariffs on India in August, blaming it for buying sanctioned Russian crude oil, financing the war in Ukraine. Putin saying today he can provide uninterrupted fuel supplies to India.
The U.S. is a much bigger market for India than
Dilip Sinha is a former Indian diplomat and commentator.
We have to ensure that we do nothing with Russia that will give Trump another excuse to put blame on India. So obviously that has to be at the back of our mind.
Still, he says the summit is also a sign that India has other options and won't necessarily buckle under U.S. pressure. Salima Shivji, CBC News, Mumbai.
The Italian Air Force aerobatic team flies over the presidential palace in Rome. It's where the Olympic flame for Milano Cortina 2026 was lit today, signaling the countdown to the Winter Games is official. The flame is now beginning its 12,000-kilometer journey, carried by 10,001 torchbearers uniting the country on its way to the opening ceremonies. And finally,
it is Make This Season Kind.
CBC's annual campaign to raise money for food banks Make the Season Kind is taking place across the country today, at a time when statistics show the need this winter is very real. Across Canada, families are struggling to put food on the table. 1 in 3 relying on food banks is a child. You can join the campaign by making a simple, powerful donation, with every dollar going directly to your local community food bank. And that is the latest national and international news from World Report. I'm John Northcott. This is CBC News.
Calgary.
Good morning to you. Thanks for joining us here on the Calgary Eyeopener for a special Friday morning. It's December the 5th. I'm Lauren McGinnis, and we are launching our Make the Season Kind campaign down at Fratello Roastery. Now, I should also tell you, coming right up, we're going to talk to a couple of new city councillors who are at the end of their first budget process. We'll talk about the city budget and how we came to it. First, though, Angela Knight joins us from around the corner here at the roastery where they're actually doing the beans. And Angela, I want to say we're sold out.
We are officially sold out for this morning of the coffee and the special edition holiday mug. But stay tuned. We're going to tell you in the next few minutes where your next opportunity is to take part and to support the Calgary Food Bank. Now, I am in the roastery, and I am right here where they are roasting all these gorgeous beans. Today, we're seeing the temperature drop a little bit through the day. We're already seeing some light snow across the city, and the temperature will continue to drop through the day to -10. We're at -4 degrees now at the airport. And that earlier incident in the northeast, that collision southbound on Métis Trail at 64th Avenue, that's completely cleared. If you spot a problem, please let me know. The number is 403-521-1010. Jocelyn Kozak at the studio this morning with a look at news headlines.
Good morning. The spread of respiratory virus has hit 10 K-12 schools already in Calgary, and people are being urged to get their shots before the busy holiday season. A city report says blanket rezoning is not resulting in the city having to spend a lot of money to upgrade infrastructure, but one city councillor says the report feels like an attempt to influence the outcome of a vote this month on repealing blanket rezoning. And social agencies in Calgary are trying to determine how many women and gender diverse people make up part of the city's hidden homeless population. We'll have the details at 7:30.
Thank you very much, Jocelyn. Now, we're 12 minutes after 7 here on a Friday morning. After 8 days of debate, Calgary has a new budget. The approved plan puts the overall tax increase at 1.6%. Also in the plan, the cancellation of a scheduled tax shift from businesses to homeowners and an increase to the cost of riding transit while countering that with spending on safety and service. Harrison Clark is joining us now. He's a councillor for Ward 9, which is actually where we are this morning. And John Pantazopoulos is councillor for Ward 6. They're both with us here at Fratello. Good morning, councillors.
Good morning.
How do you do? This is the first time I've talked to you since your election, so congratulations on that as well.
Thank you so much.
And on surviving or coming out the other end of a grueling budget process, would you say?
Absolutely, yeah.
I don't know if it was grueling. I mean, it was like a bit of an adventure, an excitement, I would say. But certainly by about hour, 48, maybe we were.
we noted fatigue.
Fatigue's a good word.
Towards the end, yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, Councillor Pantazopoulos, I'll start with you. It was a long debate. How do you feel about the budget you've delivered for your constituents?
I feel really good. I mean, we had a combination of spending cuts, also spending initiatives that were really important to Calgarians, and it really reflected what we heard at the doors. You know, we had the best interview process, 10 months of a campaign, and I think the budget, when you look at a $3.7 billion capital spend, keeping a property tax increase below inflation, but also strategically putting investments in things like transit, safety, police, fire, roads, water. I think there's something for everybody in the budget, and it's exactly what Calgarians asked for during the election.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's interesting, like how close it was that you were doing the doors to then delivering a budget. Councillor Clark, what's your take on the budget you've delivered?
Yeah, I'm quite proud of the fact that we were able to provide growth in some of those areas. Safety on transit, huge priority for my ward, matters a lot. The transition or that transfer from small business to residential, rather the other way, didn't make it, but I think
okay, let's linger on that for a second.
Sure,
What's
please.
your take on that? Because I mean, the chamber is not happy, and it was a decision made, obviously, by the previous council and now undone.
Yeah, I would say we were able to provide a balance. There isn't a difference between the share in tax in the end. That 1.6 is for both residential and non-residential taxes. So I think with plans, by the way, over the course of the next 8 years to deliver a continued transfer. But for now, it didn't land, and that's too bad. But at the same time, there was a small win or compromise in the fact that we were able to provide a balanced 1.6%.
Yeah, Councillor Pantazopoulos, I want to get to the chamber's perspective, and you are using investment money, this transfer, to counter the shift that's not happening. But how do you see the decision to go backwards on the shift?
Yeah, I think you have to look at the decision holistically. For the last 4 years, business owners, and Councillor Clark and I are both business owners before coming into politics, the increase for businesses was less than inflation. While for homeowners, it was almost double, going back to 2023. The combination of investing $3.6 billion in key priorities that businesses identified, whether it be safety, infrastructure, put it in perspective, there are wood pipes moving water in the city of Calgary. We're replacing those. So I think when you put them sort of together and realize that on balance, smart spending, a tax increase less than inflation, means a lot and addresses a lot of the concerns of Calgarians, and specifically about the transfer of investment funds into essentially general revenues as compared. We've got a very healthy reserve balance. We spent a lot of time talking about that, $4.2 billion. In addition, we're putting over $500 million a year back into reserves. We're investing in Calgary's future. And we had a long discussion. We mentioned sort of 8 days of budget, but this budget conversation started the day we were elected, and coming in and saying, what's a priority? So I think, looking at that, we're still investing for the future. We have lots of capital programs and spending that's coming down the road in the next few years during our term. So that pivot was really just a decision saying, you know what, we've got room, we've got capacity, and let's make sure we can deliver a lower than inflation property tax increase this year.
We had the mayor on the radio, and he made the same case for that decision, and also said, well, it's not a one-time thing. This is something we're going to do every year. Investment income, as you well know, is not a guarantee for sure, and also that's not currently municipal policy that you do it every year. But do you have a sense that this council is going to make that decision and do this every year if the investment revenue is there?
Yeah, if you look at the actual investment portfolio, 80+% of our investments are in what's called fixed income. So those, by definition, give you some sort of rate of return. And fundamentally, with the $4.2 billion that we have in our reserves, if you hear the conversation during the debate, we actually are looking at keeping inflation plus 0.4%. So really what we're doing is we're making sure that our investment continues to grow above inflation to meet the future needs of Calgarians. This was really sort of that surplus. Where do we want to redeploy it? If we've got enough sufficient cash to pay for those future capital expenditures in the future, plus we have some money essentially lying around, if you will, to redeploy to needs that we need today. And I really look at it as an investment. That $50 million, Councillor Clark and I supported many motions together. Think of one about that transit safety. Well, there's a $9 million, $10 million investment. And as a result of moving that funds from investment income into sort of the current, we can now redeploy that. Think of that business impact, downtown, safety, more ridership. Those are the investments that Calgarians wanted us to make today and not wait 5 or 10 years. So very important.
If I can add to that.
Yeah, go ahead. And then I have more questions on transit, so go ahead.
But I would just say that for the average person, whether business owner or residential, I think it's important to remember too that most small business owners are homeowners. So you either pay it at business or you pay it at home. But they wanted something delivered. It's like, what are we getting for our taxes? And I think in a large way, we've been able to show a great delivery this cycle.
Yeah. Okay. Let's move to transit. And again, the mayor was in, and I think he said affordability about 40 times. And this is because that's what he's hearing at the door. That's what I'm sure you've heard at the door. This decision to increase the fee to use transit across the board. How do you explain or defend, or how does that land for you?
It doesn't sit entirely well with me, I think, and I'll say because we went to such great lengths to lower the property tax rate for the average homeowner, the average Calgarian here, and then the next thing we did was raise the cost to take the bus.
Yeah.
And I think that there's something fundamentally, just worth acknowledging that any property tax gains, if that person taking the bus happens to be a homeowner, were absorbed, and so, but the balance there, I suppose, and in this decision-making process is that increase to service, if we can bolster that service and make it better. In some ways, as disappointed as I am that we're one of the most expensive, if not the most expensive now transit space in Canada, we're going to be able to deliver better service and something for it. There's a bit of an obligation there now to maybe provide better service.
Yeah. Councillor Pantazopoulos, is this a hold your nose thing on the transit fee, or Because it's now, as you point out, one of the most expensive systems in the country at a time where affordability and people use transit for all kinds of reasons, but certainly people struggling with affordability rely on transit.
I don't think so. If you look into the budget, we invested almost $200 million in replacing an aging fleet. In addition, again, two initiatives that Councillor Clark also moved and seconded was buying additional buses and renovating some of the transit, the C train, in addition to safety. So I think what was very important, if you follow sort of the numbers, if you follow the bouncing ball, as one of our colleagues said, is yes, there was an increase in the cost, but ultimately we made a more than doubling investment back into transit to make sure that it's more effective, it's more efficient, and more safe. So I think if we just took those funds and redeployed them somewhere else, I think Calgarians, rightfully so, could say, hey, you're taking out of one pocket. But we actually are reinvesting that capital back into transit, and I think that's important.
I'm going to give you each, this is the lightning round. We're just about out of time. I'm going to give you each 10 seconds, but I really notice, you're kind of singing from the same songbook. Not that you agree on everything, but that seems to be like a real push with this new group. It's a good thing to be able to disagree and to work together. But I also, I want to kind of challenge you on the need to disagree. And so, coming away from the doors through a budget process, how do you see that, Councillor Clark?
In regards to the differences and
get
compromise?
scrapping,
I'm here to deliver for a very unique set of people in the city of Calgary. I have some of the most interesting and socioeconomically diverse communities in the whole city. And I'm one ward that carries Inglewood and it carries Forest Heights. Yeah. And I think you have to understand, for me anyway, what I did is reach for what the commonality, what do people want, and so that I can accentuate and support those individuals, I've got to fight for them. So 20 cents on a bus increase doesn't matter. It's a huge impact. And in fact, a lot of the folks I represent are renters, and so they won't necessarily see the benefits of that. So I needed my colleagues to see it and know that.
Okay, that wasn't 10 seconds, but here we are.
Oh, was that my close?
Your lightning round. The imperative of disagreeing and scrapping to get to the best outcome.
And I think that's what you witness in this budget. We may take a different path, but we all ended up at the same place. And if you look at the actual votes, there was no consistency, and that's a good thing, because every single councillor sometimes voted for, sometimes voted against. But the end goal, I truly believe the discussions on the floor and behind the scenes on the evenings and weekends was how to make a better Calgary. And we united against that. So I think there was lots of disagreement, and yet we ended up in a good place.
All right. Appreciate you both coming in very much. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much.
Bye. All right. That's John Pantazopoulos, councillor for Ward 6 in the city's southwest, and Harrison Clark, the councillor for Ward 9, stretching from downtown through Inglewood, out along International Ave, and here we are in Ward 9. Over to you, Angela Knight. How's it going?
It's going very well. I actually have transitioned up to the coffee bar here where we have our delightful friends. We've got Joel and Darcy who've been making drinks for everybody this morning. Gentlemen, how many coffees have you made? Darce?
About 230.
Oh my gosh. Are we talking just straight up coffees or are we doing cappuccinos?
No, everything. All the espresso shots, 230 espresso shots. In about an hour.
You guys are good. How many years have you been? I can't even remember. It seems like there was never a time before Darcy and Joel.
When we've done this or been here? I've been here in 19 years.
I've been here 8.
Okay. We could not do this without them. And I don't know if you're watching us on our CBC Alberta YouTube channel or online. We're showing a beautiful shot of my cappuccino this morning. I'm going to dig into that in just a second. Traffic seems to be moving smoothly across the city. It's Friday morning, so generally lighter volume. We're starting to see a little bit more volume on Deerfoot, both in the northeast and the southeast, but so far everything is moving smoothly. We will start to see road conditions change. As the temperature drops, which it's going to do through the afternoon, we'll start to see more snow. It's been snowing off and on, but snow through the day, and the temperature drops to -10. We're -4 degrees right now. If you happen to spot something out there we should know about, please call me, 403-521-1010.
Thank you very much, Angela. Now, we are just about 25 minutes after 7. We're, of course, broadcasting live from Fratello Roastery. Such a fun morning, such good energy as we launch our Make the Season Kind campaign. Really appreciate everybody that came down and people that are tuning in on the radio and on the streams online. Wonderful. Now, John Hancock is in to talk sports. Good morning to you, John. What do you have for us?
Well, I've got a Calgary Flames victory, Lauren. They handed Minnesota Wild their first regulation loss since November the 6th. Dustin Wolf, 26 saves. Jonathan Huberdeau ended a 14-game scoring drought with a goal. 4-1 the final. Here's Coach Ryan Huska on the bounce-back performance from Dustin Wolf.
I think this time on the road gave him an opportunity actually to dial some parts of his game in a little bit with Jason, and I think he did a very good job of that. And, the last day or two of it, you could tell he was a little bit fiery and he wanted to get back in the net again, which is a great sign. And I said this morning, I think when you have two goaltenders that are playing well, they feed off of each other. That's what Minnesota's had with their guys, and our belief is that we're going to get that way with ours.
Matt Coronado, Connor Zary, and Rasmus Anderson also scored. Utah will be in Calgary tomorrow night. Connor McDavid, 3 goals and an assist. Leon Draisaitl, a goal and 3 assists. And Edmonton all over Seattle, 9-4. The Maple Leafs beat Carolina 5-1, although Joseph Wall, who stopped 22 shots, was injured in the third. Leafs have won 4 of 5. Ottawa lost their game 4-2 to the Rangers. In professional women's hockey, the Toronto Scepters beat Ottawa Charge 3-1. Natalie Spooner scored the game winner there. In the NBA, the LA Lakers beat the Toronto Raptors on Rui Hachimura's three-pointer on a pass from LeBron James at the buzzer, 123-120 the final. The Raptors play again tonight. They're home against Charlotte. In the NFL, Jahmyr Gibbs rushed for 3 touchdowns. Detroit Lions beat Dallas 44-20. And John Huffnagel's leaving the Stampeders for the Argos. Huff's leaving after 17 years in Calgary, where he served as head coach, GM, president, and advisor. That included 3 Grey Cups and 2 Coach of the Year trophies. Huffnagel will be a special advisor to the head coach and GM in Toronto. In ski jumping, Calgary's Abigail Strait continued her impressive start to the ski jumping World Cup season with a silver medal in a large hill event in Poland. Strait is Canada's main Olympic hopeful in ski jumping. It was her second silver of the season. And Canadian swimmer Summer McIntosh of Toronto set a U.S. Open record in the women's 400 free at the U.S. Open Championship. She won by over 15 seconds. And, of course, World Cup soccer draw takes place today in Washington. And soccer journalist John Molinaro on the importance of this World Cup draw.
It's hugely important. You'll recall that in 2022, they found themselves in one of the hardest groups. And so, it wasn't a big surprise that Canada bowed out of the tournament after 3 losses. As much as the World Cup is an endurance race, there's also a fair deal of luck involved in this. And I think that's something that a lot of people either don't want to acknowledge or overlook. Friday's event is hugely important for Canada in terms of what kind of fate it might have.
So that's happening today. And in golf, Listowel, Ontario's Corey Connors is just 1 stroke back after the first round of a Hero World Challenge event going on in Bahamas. That's an end-of-year holiday event. And, of course, it's a big weekend in Formula One, the final race in Abu Dhabi this weekend with 3 drivers a chance to win the Drivers' Championship. So lots going on, and good luck to the Vancouver Whitecaps in the Major League Soccer final against Lionel Messi and his team. I'll send it back to you guys. I hope you both have a good weekend, and we'll talk to you next week.
Thank you very much, John. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, too. Now, we are a minute out from news time. It may sound like Angela and I are in the same place, but I haven't seen her since about 5:30 this morning as she wanders around the Fratello Coffee Roastery, where we're broadcasting from this morning. Where are you now, Angela?
I am still over by the coffee bar, actually, enjoying my fine cappuccino this morning. I was also quickly checking some of the traffic cameras around the city. It looks like we continue to see light snow in some parts of the city. Traffic's been moving really well. We have no reports of any major delays. I did notice things are getting busier around Glenmore Trail and Deerfoot. Just where they're doing all of that work underneath Deerfoot Trail, it gets a little slow through that area. There are speed restrictions in place. And in the north northeast, there's also a bit more volume on 16th Avenue, right around 19th Street Northeast. Now, we will continue to see the snow off and on through the day, and the temperature is going to drop down to around minus 10 degrees by late this afternoon. Right now, minus 4 degrees at the airport at 7:30.
This is CBC News. Good morning. I'm Jocelyn Kozak. Respiratory viruses are spreading in and around Calgary schools. An infectious diseases specialist is reminding Albertans to get vaccinated now before the holiday season. The CBC's Karina Zapata reports.
Alberta's latest data shows the number of respiratory virus outbreaks is climbing. There are currently 10 outbreaks at Calgary schools. Calgary's Catholic School Board says 6 of its schools have an absence rate above 10%. The CBE did not share its absence figures with CBC. Craig Jenny is an infectious diseases specialist at the University of Calgary.
We do know that flu is out there and circulating, but it's not the only one. We also know that COVID is out there. We know RSV is out there.
Jenny says the timing of this matters.
It's not a good thing to have increasing virus numbers just as we're heading into a season with large family and community gatherings indoors.
He says there's still time for people to get their COVID and flu shots to protect themselves and their loved ones by the time the holidays roll around. According to a statement from Primary and Preventative Health Services, Alberta's influenza season started a few weeks early, but COVID hospital admissions so far are lower than in previous years. Karina Zapata, CBC News, Calgary.
A city update on blanket rezoning says the policy is boosting housing supply while having a minimal impact on infrastructure. A report from administration says townhouse and row house building permits are up from last year, and less than 1% of homes being built through rezoning have required utility upgrades. City Council will vote on whether to repeal blanket rezoning December 15th. Ward 10 Councillor Andre Chabot thinks administration is trying to influence Council's decision before that happens.
It certainly does seem that way. It certainly, some of the communications that we received kind of was leading council into not reversing its previous decision. If you look at where the concentration of the development is occurring, it's predominantly in very specific areas, which will trigger a need to add capacity to some of that infrastructure at some point.
City administration says its report is objective and prepared because of council direction. It does not intend to weigh in on the debate. The Women's Centre of Calgary has been working with other agencies to study homelessness among women and gender-diverse populations. The centre says many are part of Calgary's hidden homeless population and potentially overlooked by service providers and policymakers. The CBC's Colleen Underwood reports.
The Women's Centre's Lana Bentley says the city's annual point-in-time homelessness count doesn't fully capture the extent of the problem because it focuses on shelters and rough sleeping, whereas Bentley says a woman fleeing violence with her kids may not end up there.
Where might she end up? With a coworker, with a friend, with a neighbor, and it's really hard to enumerate that.
The centre, in partnership with a number of other agencies, spoke with 180 women and gender-diverse people with lived or living experience through a survey and focus groups. They want to learn the extent of the problem and the reasons that led people there to find solutions. Stacey Ashton is with YW Calgary, one of the partners. She says their goal is to reduce barriers that lead to housing instability.
But also to make sure that the supports and services in the community are actually responsive to the needs of the people that are experiencing this.
The results and recommendations will be released next month. Colleen Underwood, CBC News, Calgary.
The Alberta government tabled a bill yesterday restricting the names of new political parties. It disallows the use of certain words that are already associated with a party, like Conservative or Democratic, and comes as 2 former government MLAs try to relaunch the defunct Progressive Conservative Party. Peter Guthrie is one of them.
We may have to go back to the drawing board and look for an alternative, but I just want Albertans to know they can take away the name, they can ban the name, they can ban combinations of it, acronyms, what have you. They may not allow us to be PC by name, but we will be in our heart.
Justice Minister Mickey Amery says the changes will help prevent confusion among the electorate and protect parties that have worked hard to build a brand in Alberta. The city is warning Calgarians of dangerous thin ice on rivers, waterways, storm ponds, and the reservoir. Alex Kwan is the Calgary Fire Department's public information officer. He says there are more than 350 storm ponds across the city that often contain hidden risks.
There are pipes that have water feeding in and out of the storm pond. And what that does is it really weakens the ice conditions. That when you have that, that any type of current or moving water, it's not going to freeze the same as like a static or non-moving body of water.
Kwan says even in long, cold stretches, the ice on storm ponds is unpredictable and never safe to walk, skate, or play on. He encourages Calgarians who want to go ice skating to do so at your community rink and City of Calgary facilities instead. A draw today in Washington will determine the matchups for the opening round of this summer's FIFA World Cup of Soccer. Mexico and the U.S., Canada are all hosting the 48-team tournament. World Report's going to have more on that at 8 o'clock, Lauren.
All right. Thank you very much, Jocelyn. And thank you very much for tuning in. It's a special edition of the Calgary Eyeopener. We are live at Fratello Coffee Roastery, where we are launching our Make the Season Kind campaign. And it's been a wonderful morning. We're sold out of coffee and mugs, but there will be other opportunities coming for that. And Angela can tell you all about that. Now, coming up this half hour, we're actually going to talk about, 40 years of this work we've been doing to help raise money for the Calgary Food Bank, as well as, the growing need. And we'll hear some of the, an example of the generosity and compassion that Calgarians show to the food bank and to their neighbors and fellow Calgarians. So lots of great stuff coming up on the radio. Appreciate you being here. Angela Knight joins us now from across the cafe here. I can see you for a change. Good morning, Angela.
Finally. Good morning. We are seeing some light snow across the city, and it looks like that is going to continue through the day. And we will start to see the temperature drop down to minus 10 degrees later on this afternoon. We're minus 4 in Calgary right now with that light snow. In Banff, you also will be seeing snow today, mostly this afternoon. A high of minus 2. It's currently minus 4 in Banff. Red Deer snow for you too. Looks like about 2 centimeters. And your high today, I think you're there, minus 9 degrees, because now your temperature is going to fall to minus 12. For Lethbridge, a mix of sun and cloud today, a high of minus 3. You're sitting at minus 5. And Medicine Hat, some light snow falling now. You'll start to see the temperature drop to minus 7 this afternoon. Flurries continue through the day. It's currently 0 in Medicine Hat. Now in Calgary, traffic continues to move pretty well across the city. Road conditions are going to change as we start to see the temperature really drop, and the light snow always adds a degree of difficulty, so please take it easy. So far this morning, if you're using Crowchild Trail through the northwest, things are looking good there as you go east and then south, and traffic moves smoothly right down to Kensington Road. If you do see a traffic problem, please let me know. The number to call is 403-521-1010.
Thank you very much, Angela. Now, we are down here at Fratello for a big reason. We're celebrating and launching our Make the Season Kind campaign. This is all in support of the Calgary Food Bank. 40 years of the partnership between the Calgary Food Bank and CBC. Now, Melissa Fromm is the president and CEO of the Calgary Food Bank. And for our third time, we're sitting down together to help launch this campaign. Good morning to you, Melissa.
Good morning.
Exciting morning.
It's been a good morning.
Yeah, the reveal is coming, but I did see a giant novelty check go by. Kind of a special time of year.
I love a big check.
Yeah. So this marks 40 years, as we've been pointing out. Started in 1985, which there's a bit of age math that comes with that, but here we are. What does it mean to you and to the food bank to, for 40 years, harness this generosity and goodness of the good people of Calgary?
The Calgary Food Bank was started by community for community. And there's a lot of things that happen every day that remind me of that when we see 300 volunteers coming in on site to help us get that food in the door and out the door, and big checks that walk in on days like today and every other day of the year. But I am not sure there's a single initiative that we do at the Calgary Food Bank that personifies the support our community gives us better than our CBC Blitz Day.
Yeah, right on. Okay, so Blitz Day is coming a little later this month, and a tip of the hat to some of your volunteers, and we've had Dew Crew volunteers here this morning as well, but people that got out of bed at probably 4 o'clock to come make this morning work. So, oh my goodness.
I got here at like 10 to 6, and I am parked. Like, I'm not actually sure where my car is.
Yeah, you were late. No, I mean, I say that with, affection in my heart. Let's get to the work of and where this generosity ends up going. Can you describe the state of the need and food insecurity in our city?
It's not good.
Yeah.
The reality is, and we've talked about this, I think, every year for 3 years, that the need is growing. Our city is growing. The need is growing. Food inflation particularly is at an all-time high. And a really great example of this, and a really sad example of this, is like baby formula has doubled in price since 2017. And when you think about a family facing food insecurity and budgetary challenges and poverty and not being able to provide for their littlest family member in that way because of the price, we can't have that in our city.
We've heard so far this morning already from someone who's retired and who's a food bank user and totally appreciates what you do. As people come through your door or access the support, what do you hear from them about their situation, about why they're in need?
No, we are going to serve 800 families in our city today, just like every other day. And no two stories are the same. And certainly gone are the days that there was perhaps a stereotype or a caricature of who an average food bank user was. We have everything from seniors who did everything right. They saved for their retirement. They planned accordingly. No one planned for the inflation we're seeing. We have families who, our fastest growing demographic is working poor. They're working full time. They're paying the mortgage. They're paying the bills. They're heating their homes. And at the end of the month, that bottom line of the budget for food has just been completely decimated by the rising costs of everything else. We have folks who are facing budgetary challenges because of health crisis or job loss. There is no one story. There's 800 stories every day.
Now, I think we're a year into a kind of new system where people have greater choice in the groceries and the food they access. What have you learned in a year?
Oh my gosh, one of my favorite things that we've done at the Calgary Food Bank, certainly in my time there, is that we introduced a client choice model a year ago, and we are allowing folks to have more autonomy in the food that they feed their families. It helps with cultural needs and dietary needs, and we're learning a lot of things. We're learning that people like rice, so we're spending a lot of money on rice. We are learning a little bit about the types of pantry staples that people want. They want pasta. They love canned tomatoes. Peanut butter's still kind of up there, so don't stop giving us peanut butter. We do need that.
Now, we're going to have to get over to the reveal of the giant check. But first of all, I don't think we've said out loud what the food bank's goal is for this campaign.
I mean, we want a lot.
$1.5 million?
We do.
Have I got that right?
We would like $1.5 million.
What does the food bank do with $1.5 million?
$1.5 million will help us to make sure that those who are coming to us with food insecurity are getting a well-balanced diet. So while we appreciate and need all those dry goods, those pantry staples that folks are donating to us during our food drives, we still need to buy produce. We need to buy protein. We need dairy. We need eggs. And that money helps us to make sure that people have a well-balanced diet.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you for what you do. We'll be hanging out plenty in the next few weeks here, which I'm looking forward to. And thanks for this morning. So $1.5 million.
1.5.
And spinning that into.
And we're on our way.
Yeah, we are on our way. That's right. We had a donation earlier this morning. It's my greatest risk of crying on the radio is every time somebody makes a big donation. Truly, it's emotional. So thank you for facilitating this. Melissa Fromm, President and CEO of the Calgary Food Bank. We're at Fratello launching our campaign, and Angela is standing beside a friend with a novelty-sized check. Good morning, Ange.
I think you better get your hanky out there, McGinnis, because you're going to cry. I'm going to tell you that. We are, of course, we just heard the goal for the campaign is $1.5 million. I think we have a little something here that'll take us a bit further to that goal. Of course, a huge part of Make the Season Kind, this campaign, is the generosity of donors who give to the Calgary Food Bank. And I'm very fortunate to be standing next to one of those donors right now from Vista Projects. Scott Moosebacker is the CEO. Good morning, Scott.
Good morning. How are you today?
I'm well, thanks. Have you had some coffee?
Oh, yes. We had our holiday party last night, and so coffee was definitely on the menu this morning.
So you had your Christmas party last night and you're here this morning.
Yes, it's a bit of a tight turnaround, but super excited to be here and joining you all today.
Well, I know that this is a special year for you. This is the 40th anniversary of this campaign, but you also have a special 40th that you're marking.
Yes, exactly. It's our 40th anniversary for Vista Projects this year. Vista's been in the community for 40 years, and we're really proud of what we bring to the table here in Calgary and our involvement in the community.
Well, I know there's a big check lurking underneath this table, but before we get to that, how did you raise the money?
So we run several different fundraisers over the course of the year. We run a Jingle Jeans campaign where we raise money over the course of December and actually also in August to raise the spirits, where people donate. We have raffles, we have wine draws, we have all these different events that happen over the course of the year to raise money for the food bank because it is really important to us.
I love the idea of that, and everyone getting together and participating is a big part of it. Okay, are you ready? Lauren, do you have your hanky ready to go? The big reveal, how much are you donating this morning?
Well, to celebrate our 40th anniversary, the people of Vista are very happy to give $40,000 to the Calgary Food Bank.
Scott, thank you so much. That is so generous.
Thank you so much.
It is a pleasure to have you here, and thank you to everyone at Vista for this donation this morning. That is Scott Moosbacher, the CEO with Vista Projects, another $40,000 going toward that goal of $1.5 million. Now this morning, we're still keeping an eye on everything we need to keep an eye on from here at Fratello, but I can tell you that it's been pretty quiet this morning as far as volume goes on city streets, but we are seeing light snow, and that will change the road conditions throughout the day. So far, there is an incident that happened. This one is in the southeast. It just happened on the ramp going from eastbound Glenmore Trail onto 24th Street in the southeast. So please be careful through that area. Emergency crews are on the scene there. And as I said, we're going to see the snow off and on through the day. The temperature will drop right down to around minus 10 degrees. We're looking at a cooler day tomorrow as well. Right now, minus 4 at the airport, Lauren.
Thank you very much, Angela, and I'm glad I had the run of traffic and weather to compose myself after the overwhelm of emotions at a generous gift. Wonderful. Now we're 13 minutes to 8 here on a Friday morning. I'm going to tell you about a restaurant. A growing restaurant group in the city has opened its latest spot in Marda Loop, and good luck getting a reservation. Penny Crown Tavern is a hot spot. Our restaurant critic, Elizabeth Carson, managed to beat the rush to taste what the buzz is all about, and she's here at Fratello Roastery to tell us about it. Good morning.
Hey, good morning. Isn't the coffee good?
The coffee's too good. That is my fourth coffee that I'm staring into the abyss of. Listen, okay, a tavern, that conjures sort of an idea of what this could be. Are we talking about a sports bar?
Yeah, so that's actually where my mind went as well. You know, in Calgary, the word tavern is often used in place of a bar or a pub. And they, places specializing in chicken wings and sports TV channels. And so I was super surprised because Tony Millerese, the owner, he's actually the master of creating like warm, noisy, delightful neighborhood places, great food, wine, and service. Like, he's just not the burger wing guy.
Right, so okay, tell us about this and how he got out of his comfort zone.
Wow. Be still my heart. He has done it again, along with chef and partner in crime, David Leader, and kindred spirit developer, Ron Leonard. The trio have created this space at the bottom of the Henry Block, and it feels like it's 100 years old, even though it's a new build. And there isn't a false note to it, which is really cool. And it just exudes big city boisterous energy and charm in really specifically evoking New York City. The waiters are in shirts and ties. There's a pressed tin ceiling, dark wood bar that you can sit at, white tablecloths with white paper cut out on the top of them, tables so close that you can eat off your neighbor's place, and it's just joyful.
So, okay, not a place to catch a Stamps game necessarily.
Yeah, no. And you know what I also love about it is somehow when you're there, you just feel wittier and funnier. You're you, but more amplified in the best of ways. All is at peace with the world. Quintessential Tony kind of place.
A more amplified Elizabeth Carson. I'm just going to sit with that for a second. Okay, so what's on the menu at this New York Tavern, if that's even a thing?
Yeah, so it is actually. And, you know, the foundation of that type of cuisine is French, but it's seen through an East Coast American lens. You know, it's heartier, more sauce focused than the lighter, sort of more Mediterranean California style. The tight menu. It's ranging from good to excellent. I think there's going to be debates at the table, which is the best dish. There's going to be arguments over who gets the last bite. I foresee hands being swatted away at the table while your partner tries to steal another bite off of someone else's order. And these dishes were my favorite. The first ones are to share. There's a yellowtail crudo, and it's complex, fragrant flavors, amplify the tuna, rich avocado, a tingle of heat with the Fresno chili, nutty almonds, an umami, salty soy, bitter escarole. And as you imagine all those flavors together, also note in your head how complex all these textures are together. You know, I gotta say, a week later, I am still dreaming of that dish, as well as the mussels. Okay, when you go, Lauren, you've got to order the mussels, and you order them for the table, because this dish is so rich, it is impossible to eat alone. Plump mussels bathed in a sauce of sherry, cream, and browned butter. Thank God, balancing that trio out is fresh dill and little blasts of briny capers. You got to make sure you order extra paper to sop up every delicious slurp of that sauce.
Okay, now what about the big ticket items, the entrees?
Yeah, so for beef lovers, there's a pepper-crusted steak accompanied by an excellent peppercorn Dijon sauce that amplifies the flavor experience. There's a burger that is in contention for, I think, one of the best burgers in town. Probably, I bet 30% of the customers order that burger. But if you can steer away, instead of beef.
From the best burger in town, maybe? Okay, anyway, continue.
I know, but steer away from beef. Order either the seafood chowder or the roast duck. Quack, quack. The loosely named chowder is just a chorus of branzino, seafood, smoky bacon, and potato. I loved it. It actually was my favorite dish. The duck à l'orange is just the correct balance of yummy, fatty, sautéed duck breast with a touch of sweet and a blast of citrus. Both desserts, I know you're not a dessert guy, but the desserts were worth the calories. You should order them, even though by now you're probably full. The sticky toffee pudding is perfection, as well as the chocolate fondant.
Okay, you cannot make the sound of animals after we talk about eating them. New rule. Anyway, was there anything that didn't work for you?
I feel like saying baba, but anyways, there's nuances. I loved the peppercorn butter sauce, the pepperoni butter sauce on the scallop, but it did drown out the delicate mollusk out. There's a chicken dish that's just not as interesting as everything else. And last, charge a bit more if you must, but the fries should come with the burger, not an extra $14 on top of the $34 burger. That makes it a very expensive burger.
So they're not giving it away there. Maybe a special occasion place.
Yeah, for a restaurant group that's always been Italian focused, though they have just absolutely knocked this out of the park. Chef Leader spent many years in New York City cooking at some of the top high-end taverns there. I am thrilled that he longed to create that experience in Calgary. You know, for years, I've been yearning for a place like Penny Crown to open here. Yeah.
Very nice. Okay, you said earlier in the chat, when I go there.
Yeah.
We're going to go there.
We are. It's our restaurant that we're going for our auction item this year. I'm so excited.
So our auction on our website is live. You can go check it out, and there's all kinds of great stuff. But you and I are going to go out for dinner with someone who wants to take a group of friends there.
Right, so there's going to be 6 people, you and I. The team at Penny Crown is going to make it the most amazing dinner. Special drinks, special wines. I'm thrilled to do this year with you.
A guarantee from Elizabeth Carson that hands will be slapped away from each other's food. Anyway, we'll tell you more about the auction over time, but thank you very much for all this.
Have a great weekend, Lauren.
You too. That's our restaurant critic, Elizabeth Carson. Penny Crown Tavern is in Marda Loop on 34th Ave. It is open for dinner 7 days a week. We are 6 minutes to 8 here on this special edition of the Eyeopener, and in our Calgary studio, Jocelyn Kozak joins us now with a look at what's making news. Good morning.
Good morning. A report from city administration says construction that's going up due to blanket rezoning is not resulting in a lot of upgrades to utilities, but one councillor is questioning whether administration is trying to influence an upcoming vote this month on repealing that zoning bylaw. I'll be back after World Report.
Thank you very much, Jocelyn. We are now 5 minutes to 8, and Katie Toth is in from the business desk with a look at what's making news this morning. Hi, Katie.
Hello, Lauren. November job numbers are out, jobs are up, and job hunting is down. Good news. Employment increased by 54,000 in November, and the unemployment rate, that's active job seekers, they fell almost half a percentage point to 6.5%. BMO economist Doug Porter says other than some of the volatility we saw around COVID, the last time we saw a 6-tick drop in the unemployment rate in 2 months was during the 1999 tech boom. Couple of caveats though. Part of that is that the participation rate also fell. In other words, some people got tired of looking for a job and tapped out. Also, this growth is driven by part-time jobs. But we've been worried about young people. They're often the canary in the coal mine when it comes to a bad economy. And a lot of these jobs were picked up by people aged 15 to 24. Alberta is also leading these gains. Moving to space now, a new scientific paper warns that too many satellites could impact important images from scientific telescopes. This warning was in the journal Nature. It comes while tech companies are trying to send hundreds of thousands of satellites into space over the next 10 years. In 2019, there were about 2,000 satellites in orbit. Today, there are more like 15,000, and most of these belong to SpaceX's Starlink. But now we have Amazon, Google, and companies in Europe and China also racing to put their own constellations of satellites into orbit. Most of these are for providing internet, but Google also wants to outsource solar-paneled AI. Satellite information is super important for everything from crop data to the defense industry, and launching these has become less expensive thanks to new tech. But these satellites, they're already photobombing astronomers' pictures of the night sky. So scientists are asking the industry to invest in solutions, maybe make the satellites less reflective or put them in lower orbit. Finally, FIFA's Men's World Cup draw happens today in Washington, where it's supposed to be 1 degree and snowy. So it might be a weird time to talk about climate impacts on the competition, but the draw today decides who faces off this summer. And one report found that 10 of the host cities are at very high risk of experiencing extreme stress conditions. The biggest cost of a weather event would be if venues had to cancel matches and pay back tickets while also paying workers for their time. But a smaller version of that could just be delays. One FIFA Club World Cup game last summer in Orlando was delayed by almost 2 hours because of a storm. If delays like that impact contracts with broadcasters, that could lead to liability. Lauren?
Thank you very much, Katie. Now, I have your market update for the morning. The TSX is open and is up 317 points to 31,477. The Dow Jones is up 150 points to 48,001. Oil right now is up to $60.03 US a barrel. Gold is up to $4,263 US an ounce. And the Canadian dollar is up and at 72.02 cents US. Now, I mentioned the auction earlier. All kinds of wonderful things available on our auction site, part of our Make the Season Kind campaign. Again, the address for that is cbc.ca/kind/YYC. We're about a minute out from time for your national news. Angela Knight joins us now with an update. Hello, Ange.
Hello, in the southeast, we've got a collision. It's happened eastbound on Glenmore Trail in that turn lane to southbound 24th Street southeast. So a couple of vehicles involved there. Emergency crews are on the scene. Other than that, we're just starting to see a little bit of volume here and there. And of course, the snow continues to fall. Light snow across the city through the day. The temperature, which is -4 now, drops down to -10 later this afternoon, Lauren.
Thank you very much, Angela. Now, World Report is coming right up at 8 o'clock. We are on location here at Fratello Roastery, having just a hoot of a morning. Coming up after the news, our eye-opener political panel, Monty Solberg and Shannon Phillips will join us, and we'll keep the good times rolling here at the Roastery. Hope your day is off to a great start. Hang around. News is next. We'll be back in 10.
This is World Report. Good morning, I'm John Northcott. Later today in Washington, the leaders of Canada, the United States, and Mexico will all be in the same room. And while it might be hard to avoid the subject of trade, it's not the purpose of their gathering. Today is the draw that will determine the opening round of this summer's FIFA World Cup, and all three countries are jointly hosting. Jamie Strachan has more.
Early ball inside, promise David! After years of preparation and anticipation, a clear picture of Canada's World Cup journey is about to emerge. Today's draw, a key indicator of a team's potential fortunes, says soccer writer John Molinaro.
The luck of the draw is just, hugely important in terms of setting teams up for success or failure at the World Cup.
Countries have been divided into 4 so-called pots, with the hosts and top-ranked teams in pot 1. The remaining pots are based on world rankings. For Canada, a bad scenario could see them in a group with tough opponents like Croatia, Norway, and if they qualify, Italy. A much easier road for Canada would see games against lower-ranked nations, Austria, South Africa, and New Zealand.
The wonderful thing about the World Cup is you kind of get pulled into a group against teams that, you don't normally play, and against nations from continents that you don't normally play.
This will be Canada's 3rd World Cup appearance. In 2022, it lost all 3 games. Bob Lenarduzzi played on Canada's first World Cup side in 1986 and says no matter who Canada draws, home field will be a huge advantage.
Anytime you pull the red jersey on as a player, you feel, I'm getting goosebumps now as I'm saying, you feel a sense of pride. The fact that you're playing in a World Cup in your backyard, well, that pride is just going to go through the roof.
Canada will play its first game against an opponent to be determined later today in mid-June at Toronto's BMO Field. Jamie Strachan, CBC News, Toronto.
And today's World Cup festivities are being held at the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C. Included on the agenda will be the awarding of FIFA's first ever Global Peace Prize. And the recipient is expected to be Donald Trump. Trade, defense, and strategic ties are all being discussed during Russian President Vladimir Putin's state visit to India. But underlying much of the conversation is the Kremlin's war on Ukraine. Salima Shivji has more from Mumbai.
A classical Indian dance on the tarmac as Vladimir Putin landed in New Delhi Thursday evening, greeted also with a warm embrace from India's Narendra Modi, there personally to welcome Russia's president, a rare gesture from the prime minister meant to underline the close ties between the two leaders. Amidst more ceremony, there was talk of the war in Ukraine, with Modi once again saying India is on the side of peace, and the leaders signed an economic cooperation agreement to expand trade until 2030.
Economic cooperation program पर
The visit is also steeped in symbolism. For Putin, it's about showing he's not so politically isolated. But this is a diplomatic tightrope for India, trying to balance a long-standing historical alliance with Russia, its biggest defense supplier that dates to the Soviet era, and the South Asian country's ties to a once friendly but increasingly volatile Trump administration. Washington imposed punishing tariffs on India in August, blaming it for buying sanctioned Russian crude oil financing the war in Ukraine. Putin saying today he can provide uninterrupted fuel supplies to India.
The U.S. is a much bigger market for India, then
Dilip Sinha is a former Indian diplomat and commentator.
we have to ensure that we do nothing with Russia that will give Trump another excuse to put blame on India. So obviously that has to be at the back of our mind.
Still, he says the summit is also a sign that India has other options and won't necessarily buckle under U.S. pressure. Salima Shivji, CBC News, Mumbai.
Netflix is acquiring Warner Brothers Discovery. The $72 billion cash and stock deal announced today brings massive film and TV assets, including HBO Max and DC Studios, under one roof. The move marks a major strategic shift for Netflix, which had previously expressed no interest in owning legacy media networks. Netflix has promised to continue theatrical releases for Warner's films. The massive transaction is expected to close in late 2026. Canada's Defence Minister is assuring parliamentarians the federal government is on its way to meeting NATO's old spending target, 2% of GDP, by spring of next year. As the CBC's Murray Brewster tells us, there are questions about whether the military can spend all that money.
Department of National Defence hasn't been good at it, spending all the money they've been getting.
Conservative defence critic James Bazan expressing the scepticism many have felt about Canada reaching the target of spending 2% of GDP on defence.
Yeah, we're good.
Defence Minister David McGuinty didn't even bat an eye in giving that assurance.
So we're on this and watching it like a hawk, and you're right to raise it. And we're making sure that we're going to be delivering on time by March 31st.
Prime Minister Mark Carney set the goal of meeting the 2% target back in June. That was just as leaders of the NATO alliance raised the bar to 5%. Skepticism over the Defence Department's capacity is well earned. The department underspent by over $5 billion between 2020 and 2023. We've now been seeing signs, however, that money is being shoveled out the door, or is about to be. The U.S. Defense Cooperation Agency has just given Canada permission to buy $3.6 billion worth of bombs, including smart bombs, for the CF-18s and the next generation of fighters. Literally thousands of them. Building up stocks of munitions is one of the goals of the military. But the sale also underscores how dependent Canada is on the U.S. for weapons and ammunition, something the Carney government had promised to change. Murray Brewster, CBC News, Ottawa.
Some legal experts say Newfoundland and Labrador is facing what they describe as an access to justice crisis. Earlier this week, the government suspended many provincial court services, and they may not resume until February. The province blames systemic issues and is forming a working group to find solutions. Leila Baudouin reports.
It's unusually quiet in the downtown provincial court building in St. John's, where the constant flow of small claims court has come to a screeching halt. Intimate partner violence court in rural Newfoundland will be moving to bi-weekly. Mental health matters on hold. Joe Thorne is with the Canadian Bar Association and says it's urgent the system gets back to normal.
Presents what I would describe as an access to justice crisis.
Justice Minister Helen Conway Ottenheimer announced a working group of lawyers to overhaul the courts, saying the problems like staffing shortages are systemic.
It is not going to be a long, drawn-out, protracted exercise by any means.
The opposition says things were working fine before and calls the shutdown abrupt. Liberal voice Pam Parsons calls the solution to the suspension too slow.
What is the plan? What's the interim plan?
When pressed on the congested system, the Minister of Justice said there's nothing broken here that can't be fixed. The issue for plaintiffs and defendants is how long. Leila Baudouin, CBC News, St. John's.
And returning to our top story, the FIFA World Cup, but this time the view from Mexico City. The owners of a soccer stadium there have control over a key water well, while a neighboring community is experiencing water shortages. As Jorge Barrera tells us, there's growing protest in the community.
The people need to rise, chants a crowd during a press conference led by Ruben Ramirez, who represents the indigenous people of Santa Úrsula, Coapa. The struggle is over water, he tells CBC News. His people are protesting the World Cup over water shortages plaguing their community, which sits next to Mexico City's legendary Azteca Stadium, host to World Cups 1986 and 1970.
It was a fitting end to Pele's World Cup career.
The first game of World Cup 2026 will be played here.
We are next to the Azteca Stadium, and behind this wall is the well.
Natalia Lara is an activist fighting for community water rights. She says the Mexican government gave rights to drill this well 6 years ago to Televisa Group, the country's largest media corporation, which owns local broadcast rights to World Cup games.
We don't have water, and Televisa always has water for the grass, and we don't have water for washing or for cooking.
Mexico City's mayor, Clara Brugada, said recently that the well is now in the city's hands, but the stadium's owners told CBC News they hold the water rights until 2027. We've had 2 World Cups and the people have not benefited, says Ramirez. He says protests will continue until the water goes back to his people, on whose land the stadium was built. Jorge Barrera, CBC News, Mexico City.
And that is the latest national and international news from World Report. If you're enjoying the World Report podcast, and we hope you are, please follow us and tell a friend. It helps to spread the word. I'm John Northcott. This is CBC News.
Good morning to you. Thanks for joining us here on the Calgary Eyeopener on a Friday morning, December 5th. I'm Lauren McGinnis. It's a special edition. We're live making the season kind at Fratello Roastery this morning. Now, coming right up on the show, we will be joined by Shannon Phillips and Monty Solberg, our Eyeopener political panel. First, though, Angela Knight joins us with a look at how traffic and weather's going. And how, Angela, are you on your second cup of coffee yet?
I have completed my second cappuccino, yes. Are you keeping track?
Well done. Oh, I completed my second cappuccino at about, 6:15 this morning. I'm into coffee 4.
Oh my goodness, I'm going to try and catch up. This morning in traffic, one incident in the southeast. That's in the turn lane from eastbound Glenmore to southbound 24th Street Southeast. We're seeing some light snow in some parts of the city. That continues through the day and the temperature drops. We're -5 now at the airport, but we are going to see the temperature drop down to -10, -11 through the afternoon. Jocelyn Kozak is in the studio with a look at news headlines. Good morning, Jocelyn.
Good morning. A city report says blanket rezoning is not resulting in the city having to spend a lot of money to upgrade infrastructure, but one city councillor says the report feels like an attempt to influence the outcome of a vote this month on repealing blanket rezoning. The spread of respiratory viruses has hit 10 K-12 schools already in Calgary. People are being urged to get their shots before the busy holiday season. And the provincial government has tabled a bill to restrict the names of political parties. It's disallowing the use of certain words that are already associated with a party, including the word conservative. I'll be back at 8:30.
Thank you very much, Jocelyn. It's 12 minutes after 8, and I'm fact-checking myself. This is my 5th cup of coffee, but I didn't totally finish my 4th, so we're into coffee math here, but I am wired at Fratello Roastery. Now, Premier Danielle Smith is expected to be the next target of a recall campaign. The applicants say the petition to remove Smith as the MLA for Brooks Medicine Hat has been approved, though we are still waiting for the official word from Elections Alberta. Now, if it goes through, the Premier will be the 15th member of her party to be targeted with such a recall campaign. Now, the Eyeopener political panel is here to break it all down. Shannon Phillips is a former NDP MLA and is a founding partner of Meredith Bosencool and Phillips Policy Advisors. And Monty Solberg is a former Conservative Member of Parliament and now CEO of New West Public Affairs. Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And I'll say Shannon's on Zoom and Monty's here beside me, so we're stitching it together. Now, Monty, we'll start with you. How worried should the government be about all these recall petitions?
I think the government has pretty much decided that they're not a big threat. They seem to think that the bar is pretty high. 60% of the people that voted in the last election, that is a high bar, and it's got to be collected within 90 days. So I think they'd rather see this through than have to go back and change legislation that they brought in.
Shannon, over to you. I mean, what do you see as the threat here, or what's at stake for Premier Danielle Smith and the UCP?
Well, you know, there's the process of the recall, which Monty rightfully points out is super tough to meet that bar, to be able to actually follow through. So there's a process and the outcome. The outcome is tough. The process, on the other hand, energizes the anti-UCP electorate, gives people something to do between elections. You know, I'm coming around on this. I was at first very, very skeptical as to, you know, whether this was worth the effort. And of course, I, as a New Democrat, don't really support recall. I think it's sort of a silly American affectation and a bit of a sop to a red meat base and never really intended to be used. But I am seeing where it is really energizing people, prompting them to organize at a grassroots level. And for that, I think it is something that's a bit dangerous for the UCP.
It's interesting. I mean, even if it's not successful, there can be other implications, I guess. And I look at, you know, City of Calgary Ward 14 Councillor Landon Johnson, who ran an unsuccessful recall campaign on the former mayor, Jyoti Gondek, but I mean, he's now a city councillor. So there's something there. And Monty, you said something too. You said, well, you see from the government that maybe they don't feel threatened by this. And the province made changes to election rules this week. There was some expectation that those changes could include, you know, changing the way that the recall legislation works. Should they have, or could they still?
Well, I think they want to sort of stay with the principle of recall for now. And, you know, I think the consequences can cut both ways. I think there is probably a legitimate concern amongst some people that focusing on things like recall takes attention away from the issues that matter to Main Street. You know,
do you mean if the UCP was focused on changing the legislation?
Well, no, I mean that the opponents continue to go after it, and in other words, I think the UCP is saying, hey, if you want to make that your priority, trying to recall people instead of letting the legislature of Alberta address matters like affordability, you know, you're going to wear that. So I think there's some sense to it, but it is difficult to calculate. You know, there's a group of highly motivated people that would love to recall these MLAs, but I think the great majority of people look at it as just sort of more democratic sausage making, and it's pretty ugly stuff. And you know, they're wondering why we aren't talking about the price of meat in the grocery store.
Yeah, okay. Now, Shannon, recall is something the grassroots of the UCP wanted. How sacred is it, do you think? And can the government get away with changing it without alienating their base?
Maybe, maybe not. I think what's so interesting is that they're not focused on anything that would alienate them from their base. And in fact, they're focused on those sort of more cultural issues that shore them up among the base. And even when they try to talk about something that has to do with the economy, like the Memorandum of Understanding with Mr. Carney on energy and natural resource matters, they are quickly drawn back to the cultural issues. You know, last week we had a nation-defining moment in terms of the Memorandum of Understanding. Danielle Smith tried to talk about that on the stage of her convention. She got booed for her efforts. And now we go back into the legislature this week, and we're talking about recall, we're talking about guns, we're talking about all of this other stuff that is not the economy. To Monty's point about talking about affordability, it's not recall that's necessarily taking them off that, although it's part of it. It's all the culture war stuff that Danielle Smith and the UCP are indulging because they have to at the behest of their base.
Monty, I want to stay on this matter of the UCP's base and the Premier's relationship with them. That moment where she was booed at the convention talking about entering this memorandum or this memorandum of understanding with the federal government. I mean, what do you make of that moment?
Well, I think it's been overemphasized because, you know, it was the Thursday, I believe, of the convention going into that full weekend. And there were a lot of highly motivated people there. The next day, the reception was quite different. So, you know, I'm not convinced that it's a net negative with the base of the United Conservative Party. In fact, I would say overall supporters are highly supportive of what the Premier's done. We all know the oil and gas industry is absolutely foundational to the Alberta economy and to our overall prosperity. And, you know, it was a bit of Nixon going to China for both sides to end up coming to this agreement. And I think I'd be surprised if her support doesn't start to go up because of it.
Okay. Now, on the matter of the recall legislation, you know, there's tons of ink and tons of words shared when it was kind of created as it is now about why it was there. Some of the current MLAs that are being targeted by it are saying, hey, this isn't what it's for. It's for ethical breaches rather than you object to my politics. How do you see that?
This is really old news. You know, when I was a Reform MP, we messed around with recall and wondered whether it would be a good idea. In the end, we didn't sort of proceed with it as a major plank in the platform because in history, it's been abused a few times. And so there is that aspect to it.
Do you see this as an abuse? The way it's being used currently?
Well, it can be used that way. I mean, there's no question. You know, if it's only about political differences, you could have a recall petition every 5 minutes because there's always political differences. So I think the UCP MLAs are right. Not sure it carries much weight with the people that are opposed.
I mean, you're characterizing it as they're right. It is an evolution, we'll call it charitably, of their positioning around the legislation in the first place. Shannon, I want to really go to the heart of sort of NDP strategy around this. You know, considering the party is against recall legislation in principle, how should they handle this?
Well, you know, exactly how they have been handling it, because, you know, I've been of several minds, and I've come down to, like, actually talking to some of these recall folks who are active in it. They're not necessarily at all partisan New Democrats. They are mad at the government. And so this is activating a whole other segment of civil society, of, you know, teachers who are mad about the use of the standing clause, parents that are upset about some of the decisions the government's made. They're just rank and file, ordinary people, which is what I like about it, is that this is not necessarily partisan. The NDP's done a good job of saying, no, we're not organizing any of that. And it's just people coming out of the woodwork and making their voices known. And it is upsetting to people in the government. That's actually the point. So, you know, I kind of think it's a nice indication of democracy happens outside of the political parties. And the NDP has stayed laser focused on things like healthcare and affordability, which is exactly where they should be, and leaving some of this other stuff to where it should be, which is grassroots, ordinary citizens making themselves heard.
Yeah. All right, Shannon, thank you very much for your time this morning. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And Monty, thanks for coming down.
Yeah, thank you, and congratulations to CBC for raising a lot of money for a good cause.
We're just getting started, I would like to say. Yeah, thanks.
Awesome.
Thanks for your time this morning. That was Monty Solberg sitting beside me, former Conservative member of Parliament, now CEO of New West Public Affairs. As well, Shannon Phillips joined us over Zoom, former NDP MLA, and is a founding partner of Meredith Bosencool and Phillips Policy Advisors. They join us every other Friday to talk politics. We're 22 minutes after 8 here on a special edition of the Eyeopener. Angela Knight joins us now from over by the coffee bar. Good morning.
Good morning, and I do want to mention we are completely sold out of the coffee and the special edition holiday mugs. We're still having a few people walk through the door. We sold out just before 7 o'clock this morning, but we do have some sales coming up where you have another opportunity. So you can go to cbc.ca/kindyyc, click on coffee sales, and you'll be able to see the next opportunity coming up to support the food bank that way. Now, this morning, in traffic, we had one incident southbound, actually in the turn lane from eastbound Glenmore Trail to southbound 24th Street Southeast. That has been cleared, so traffic is actually moving really well through that area now. We are still seeing some light snow here and there where we are here at Fratello in the southeast. It does not look like the snow is coming down, but we're still hearing about light snow across the city, and that continues through the afternoon. So we're -5 at the airport, temperature dropping dropping down to minus 10 or minus 11 later on this afternoon. So road conditions definitely changing with that drop in the temperature. Now, we're talking about snow, but for 30 years, it's been raining teddy bears at the Saddle Dome. Each December, the Calgary Hitmen designate one of their home games as the annual teddy bear toss. And since 1995, over 480,000 teddy bears have been lobbed onto the ice, even resulting in a world record 7 years ago. So the tradition continues this Sunday against the Wenatchee Wild. Amy Bontorin is the manager of business operations for the Hitmen, and she's with us this morning. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you for having me this morning.
It's our pleasure, and I see you're not alone. Who have you brought with you?
I've brought a little Hitman teddy bear here.
Oh my gosh, if you're watching us on the CBC Alberta YouTube channel or on our website, you got to check this little guy out. He is the cutest little teddy bear, and he's wearing a tiny little Hitman bomber jacket, and it's got like little leather sleeves.
Like a Leatherman jacket. It's pretty cute.
It is pretty cute. So tell me, Amy, let's start first of all. This is a really long-standing tradition, but for those who maybe haven't experienced, what has to happen for those wave of teddy bears to hit the ice?
Yeah, so this one's always a fun game to come to because there's an anticipation in the air as you're waiting for the Calgary Hitmen to score their first goal, because once that goal is scored, that's when fans get to toss their bears onto the ice. It's a pretty cool moment. If you haven't been a part of it, it's worth coming to.
Now, I'm hearing, I don't know a lot about this, but the Wenatchee Wild, perhaps not really tough competitors. Did you choose them because you knew there would be scoring opportunities?
No, this one has been scheduled for a while. Who knows what's going to happen, really, in terms of that, but I'm pretty confident the Calgary Hitmen are going to score that goal and fans are going to get to toss their bears.
What would happen if the game was scoreless?
Yes, that has happened before, not in Calgary, but our crew will tell fans when they can toss their bears, but we're not going to have to worry about that because we're going to get a Calgary Hitmen goal.
We absolutely are. More than one, absolutely. I'm guessing. Now, the Hitmen play in one of the WHL's bigger barns. What kind of crowd of people and stuffed animals does this game usually bring?
Yeah, we're lucky with the building that we live in for this one because we can have 16,000 fans in the building, and typically we're in and around 20,000 to almost 30,000 bears. But this year we're looking to collect 30,000 bears that we can put back into the community.
30,000 bears. You're talking about putting them back into the community. Where do they all go?
It's a wide variety of different organizations. So we have over 60 organizations and charities that are going to benefit from this game. Alberta Children's Hospital, Alberta Children's Hospital, Ronald McDonald House, Stevens Backpacks, the Calgary Food Bank is one of the organizations that benefits from this one. So wide variety of different things that they get used for as well. Children's Hospital, we got to go there the day after the game with the players and we distribute them. Ronald McDonald House, same thing. Some of the bears are used for Christmas related things. Others are there on hand for when kids are coming in for things and they need that like comfortable thing that they can hug.
It's a great idea, and obviously people love it. I mean, you're talking almost 500,000 bears over the last 30 years, and I know that one of the players has a special connection to the teddy bear toss. Tell me about that.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of years ago, we had a very full circle moment where our team was visiting the Children's Hospital, and one of our prospects at the time, Wyatt Pizarchuk, was at the hospital, and he received a bear from our players, and then the following year, he was on our roster and playing in the teddy bear toss game. So that's definitely one that usually gets me a little bit, but hearing the stories of where the bears go is really cool. There was another moment, I want to say it was 2 years ago when we went to the Children's Hospital and we're distributing bears, and there was a kid that got one who had actually been at the game the day before. So he had been at the game, tossed a bear, and then the next day when we were visiting, he received a bear. So it's always cool hearing the impact that a single bear can have on someone, right?
Absolutely. Now, for fans going to the game on Sunday night, I know most of them know what to do, but is there anything they need to keep in mind when they're headed to the game on Sunday?
Yeah, so I mean, a big one is bring a bear. If you don't bring your own bear, we do have bears available for purchase on the concourse and at our CGY team stores, including the one that I've brought with me today. We will have bags on site that you will put your bears in. That's a very important step in the process because once the bears hit that ice and we're cleaning them off the ice, we don't want them to get wrecked by sitting on the wet ice. So getting those bears in the bag is really important, and then obviously just waiting for that first Calgary Hitman goal before you toss the bears on the ice.
All right, that first goal is going to come quick, so be prepared. Amy, thank you so much for coming by and bringing this little guy with you.
Thanks for having me this morning.
All right, that is Amy Bontorin. She is the manager of business operations for the Calgary Hitmen, and the Teddy Bear Toss game is on Sunday, 4 o'clock at the Saddle Dome, and I can only imagine how many bears are going to hit the ice. Now, this morning, it's been a fairly quiet morning in traffic. Friday, light volume, even the light snow hasn't really caused too many delays. We are seeing a little bit of traffic here and there, particularly heading into downtown, so there's a little bit of volume as you're making that transition from Bow Trail onto 9th Avenue, heading through the Cord that way. And there's also a little bit of volume as you're heading westbound on Memorial Drive, making your way toward Reconciliation Bridge and the 4th Avenue flyover. Northbound McLeod Trail, if you're headed into downtown that way, just a reminder that those two right lanes are still closed. They've been doing utility work there for a few weeks. So those two right lanes are closed between 15th Avenue and 13th Avenue. So that does create a little bit of a bottleneck through that area, and that is a 24/7 closure of those two lanes. Anytime you spot a problem, please let me know. When it's safe to call, it's 403-521-1010. Now, the light snow off and on, we're not seeing it here where we are in the southeast, but definitely in parts of the city. We're -5 degrees at the airport, but we're going to see the temperature drop down to -10 this afternoon. It's 8:30.
This is CBC News. Good morning. I'm Jocelyn Kozak. The City of Calgary says blanket rezoning is having minimal impact on infrastructure, but one councillor thinks administration is trying to sway opinion ahead of an upcoming vote. The CBC's Brendan Coulter reports.
An update on the impacts of blanket rezoning went to City Hall this week. Building permits for townhouses and row houses are up from last year, and less than 1% of the homes reviewed needed utility upgrades. Maggie Choi is with the city.
At a street or a block level, the impact of change can look and feel significant. However, from an infrastructure perspective, the impact has been minimal.
Council will debate blanket rezoning December 15. Ward 10 Councillor Andre Chabot says the policy would strain infrastructure down the road and thinks City Admin wants to keep blanket rezoning in place.
There's a lot of implications that we shouldn't do this because of this. So yeah, it does seem like admin is trying to influence council's decision.
Administration says its report is objective and not meant to weigh in. Whatever council decides, Brian Hahn with Build Calgary says it needs to act quickly.
Investment thrives on certainty and struggles with uncertainty.
If council votes to repeal, the zoning bylaw would go to public hearing in March. Brendan Coulter, CBC News, Calgary City Hall.
Respiratory virus outbreaks are climbing in and around Calgary schools. According to the province's latest data, there are currently 10 outbreaks at K-12 schools in Calgary. Calgary's Catholic School Board says 6 of its schools have an absence rate above 10%. The CBE did not share its absence numbers. Craig Jenny is an infectious diseases specialist at the University of Calgary. He says it's critical people get their COVID and flu shots now ahead of the holiday season.
Vaccine rates are typically are lower than where they typically are, and it's something we really need to work on if we want to stop or limit the spread of this virus, and if we want to keep people not only feeling better and hopefully going to school, but arguably keep them out of hospital and keep severe influenza at bay.
Primary and Preventative Health Services says Alberta's influenza season started a few weeks early, but COVID hospital admissions so far are lower than in previous years. The Women's Centre of Calgary has partnered with other agencies to better understand how many women and gender-diverse populations are homeless. Spokesperson Lana Bentley says the annual point-in-time counts focus on shelters and rough sleeping populations and don't fully represent the problem. She says, for example, some women end up staying with friends or family but are still considered homeless.
We want to understand those pathways into homelessness so that we can prevent people from becoming displaced rather than just investing in after that has occurred. I think intervening at both time points is appropriate, but we also want to wrap our arms around the true scope of the problem to lead to better planning and better resourcing and better prevention as well.
Bentley says they spoke with about 180 people through a hidden homeless survey and focus groups. The results of the study are expected to be released next month. The research is being funded by the Calgary Foundation. A bill tabled in the legislature yesterday could change citizen referendum rules. It could also terminate a case before the courts on whether a pro-separation referendum question is constitutional. Emily Williams reports.
Justice Minister Mickey Amory says Bill 14 would clear the way for Albertans of all political stripes to pose referendum questions. The changes mean that all current citizen-led petition applicants would need to reapply. The bill also discontinues any current court proceedings on those petitions. Jeffrey Rath, the lawyer for the Alberta Prosperity Project, which is proposing a pro-separation question, says he didn't want the government interfering in their case.
I think they're afraid we're going to win, and we're going to get a court saying that what we're doing is perfectly fine and constitutional.
NDP Deputy Leader Raki Pancholi says it's part of a concerning trend of the government intervening in the judicial process.
When you don't have those checks in place in courts, you have unfettered power.
The bill does not impact petition questions that have already been issued, including the anti-separation Forever Canadian petition. Emily Williams, CBC News, Edmonton.
The town of Canmore is telling the province names matter. A provincial commission is looking at redrawing Alberta's electoral map to create a new riding called Banff-Jasper. It would include both of those places as well as Canmore, which would be the largest municipality. Sean Krausert is the mayor of Canmore. During Thursday's council meeting, he said Canmore should be part of the riding name.
Their own protocol indicates that the largest municipality within that division should be part of the name and should be listed first. Canmore is the largest municipality by far within this electoral division.
The existing riding is called Banff-Kananaskis. Alberta's Electoral Boundaries Commission will hold public hearings on the proposed new ridings in January. And that is your CBC News, Lauren.
Thank you very much, Jocelyn. And thank you very much for hanging out with us this morning. If you're at home, if you pop down to the roastery, if you're joining us on a visual platform where you can see Angela Knight's sweater. Holy Dinah, you better describe that for a radio audience.
A Christmas sweater with kind of candy cane sleeves, and then I've got the sequin candy canes with little green bows all over it.
Sequins. Yeah. No, you're hard at work making toys, I think. That's the vibe.
It's so true. That's what I've been doing.
Yeah. Anyway, grand morning. How's it out there?
It's still, you know what, it's starting to be a little gray. We're seeing some light snow across the city. So temperature, as I've been saying, is going to drop through the day to -10. We're still -5 degrees at the airport.
All right. Thank you very much, Angela. Are you in business? Do you want to take my mic?
So here's the thing. Apparently you have to turn it on.
Oh, no, you described that sweater with your mic off.
Yeah, it's
Sorry.
okay.
It's a spectacular sweater. How are the roads?
The roads are going to be interesting through the afternoon, but so far, no reports of any big delays.
All right. Thank you very much, Ange. Now, I want to thank everybody that came down and the team that has made this work this morning. I see our friend Sharon, who's behind the scenes making it all sing.
Sharon,
awesome.
you rock.
You rock. Our technicians this week and this morning, Mac Meyer and Ashley Gerbig. Also on the visuals side, Todd Fletcher, Michelle Gosselin, Pat Carroll, right on. Our director this week, Liam Daw. Story producers, Michaela De Los Santos, Huana Cyprian, Jennifer DeRosio, Nathan Godfrey, Julian Brown. Our senior producer is Josh Paget. Our executive producer, Judy Aldis. And thank you for tuning in. Have a great weekend. Back Monday. Talk to you then.